At the moment, when Li Zi and others reappeared, they found that they had returned to Kamar Taj. There are many magicians standing under the square. Everyone is studying magic very seriously, and the king is guiding them, without any slack in the whole process. After slowly descending, Wang came to the crowd and immediately asked, Li, how is the situation over there? It's like this. Li Zi told the other party the general situation. After Wang heard this, his eyes couldn't stop being shocked. He never expected that the land turned out to be the realm of the gods, and he had a similar experience with Asgard. It is also an alien invasion, but there are some differences in form. But when you think about it carefully, it's quite normal. After all, the Angel clan possesses very powerful magic power. Even if it is someone else, it will be very shocking, or it can be said that no one wants to obtain powerful magic. After all, the attraction brought by powerful magic is extremely huge amounts of. That Thor should know something about this, right? Wang turned his gaze to Thor behind him, as if he wanted to get an accurate confirmation from the other party. Thor pondered for a moment, then spoke slowly, actually, I'm not particularly clear about these things, but I'm very puzzled about God. It stands to reason that God possesses very powerful power. The attack of the demon clan should not be defensive and not offensive. Thinking of this, he didn't know how to explain it. After all, that incident was somewhat unbelievable to others. As a god, he must be able to understand the reason, but this time he was a little embarrassed. It seemed that even he couldn't figure out the real situation. Forget it. These issues are not within the scope of our current consideration. At this moment, Li Zi shook his head. His focus was not on this, but on the mysterious person he was about to face in a few months. This is the most important thing. And in addition, their trip to the realm of gods was just a matter of convenience. It's not that he is worried that the energy diffused over there will affect the main universe. I'm afraid he won't allow Stephen and the others to go there directly. In that case, let's end this matter for the time being. Stephen, who hadn't spoken for a long time, opened his mouth, and then set his sights on Wang. Learn magic as soon as possible, because this is a very important thing, and Li helped Kamar Taj a lot. This sentence is indeed understandable, not to mention the subsequent events, but the previous multi-universe chaos, in which Li Zi took a lot of credit. He is very clear about this. I understand what you mean. Don't worry. During the time you left, I have been leading them to learn more profound magic. I believe it will not take long for them to basically master it. Wang explained the situation to Stephen very seriously. That's all right. Let's study hard during this time. Li Zi glanced at the time, without wasting too much time, but said to everyone, it's getting late, we should leave. The 5th day has passed since I came out. After all, the limit given by the system is only 7 days. If this number is exceeded, the entire mission will face failure. Okay, then it's time for me to return to Asgard. Thor next to him also expressed his thoughts, believing that there were other things waiting for him to deal with. Stephen has no objection. After all, it is normal to have a brief separation. Doing a simple difference, they soon separated. Thor returns to Asgard. Li Zi and the others returned, but it was not Westview Town, but the city of New York. After all, there are still 2 days left. Don't waste this time. It is not easy to come out once, and besides, he still has 2 witches with him. Where do we go next? The Dark Witch glanced around, and found that New York is somewhat deserted today, perhaps because of a mismatch in time, or for other reasons. Wanda didn't speak, and looked at Li Zi with curious eyes. Let's go to the convention center and see what fun there is. In fact, Li Zi has been looking forward to going to the exhibition center, because it not only contains the cultural heritage of China, America, and other countries, but also a kind of inheritance. Okay, then let's go there quickly. Upon hearing this, Wanda nodded immediately. As long as the other party wanted to go, she actually wanted to go. Definitely, the point is to be with Li Zi. This is the real activity of her heart. What are you in such a hurry for? The Dark Witch couldn't help but complain about her. I want you to take care of it, and go. After finishing speaking, he directly took Li Zi's hand, as if showing off to the other party crazily. When the Dark Witch saw this scene, she also came to fight against her temper, and directly took the opponent's arm in the same way, not giving in to the opponent at all. Let me go. Having said that, Wanda seems to have accepted the other party, but she just doesn't want to admit it. I don't. The Dark Witch leaned her head on the opponent's shoulder, enjoying the remaining warmth brought by the moment. But Li Zi, who was stuck in the middle, felt extremely uncomfortable, because the 2 witches went together, and he was somewhat overwhelmed. After a long time, the 3 of them came to the convention and exhibition center while pulling back and forth. Just looking at it, the place was almost full of people. However, compared with the previous history museum, the situation was a little bit better. At least there was no such big congestion. The European-style building is surrounded by many decorations directly on the periphery of the center, such as the Chinese dragon picture scroll, and the European-style god's hand. And there are other decorations from different countries, which almost occupy the entire periphery. But also because of this, many people took pictures of it, and the click sounded continuously, but soon a dozen security guards stepped forward to mediate this similar situation. If due to their congestion, the convention and exhibition center cannot be carried out in an orderly manner, they must shoulder the responsibility. After a while, the crowded people were finally gradually dispersed, and a road was divided in the middle. Seeing this, Li Zi walked in with the two witches, with a wry smile in his heart, but he didn't say much about it. The three of them had already bought their tickets. After checking the tickets, they came inside and found that the entire exhibition center was very large. The entire starry sky was full of twinkling stars, and the overall look was incomparably bright and gorgeous. Li Zi didn't react much, but the two witches beside him exclaimed, their eyes filled with endless curiosity. "Why are you so surprised?" Li Zi smiled a little, but didn't understand the actions of the two of them. "Li, you really brought us to a good place." Wanda's eyes were shining brightly, and she was no longer unhappy as before, but focused her attention on the exhibits not far away. That sentence makes sense. This time the Dark Witch didn't intend to refute at all, but echoed Wanda's words in the same way. Li Zi smiled and said nothing. He really didn't know. Is this place really so curious for the two witches? Compared with the previous history museum, it seems that there is not a big difference between the two, right? There is no way. Since they came here, they naturally have to go in and have a look, otherwise it would be too much. Let's go in together, otherwise staying here is not an option. Li Zi could see that the two witches wanted to go in very much. Anyway, the tickets had already been bought, and if they didn't go in for a real visit, they would be somewhat sorry for the money. Although he can make money from gangsters, it is not an option to waste it all the time. Soon. The three of them didn't waste time, but were full of curiosity and walked in directly. Looking around, I found that everything around me was mostly European and Chinese style. Although the cultural heritage of other countries was also not inferior, it was not enough to see in front of the two countries. Li, do your dragons really exist? Wanda's eyes fell in front of a dragonstone statue, which looked extremely majestic and sacred as a whole, especially the appearance carved on it, with sharp edges and corners, giving people a vivid sense of sight. Although it is not real, but as long as it is up close watching, you can find some unique points above. Although it is not particularly obvious, you will find that this dragon is very holy if you take it seriously. There are rumors of dragons in legends, but I don't know if it's true. Before Li Zi could finish speaking, Wanda tugged at the hem of his clothes and interrupted him. Then tell me quickly, I am very curious about these legends. I also want to hear, what happened to those dragons? The Dark Witch was also a little curious, and directly asked about this matter in the same way. Li Zi thought about it carefully, without much hesitation, and immediately said, how should I put it? The dragon is a mythical animal in ancient Chinese legends. It is the symbol of the Chinese nation, and the Chinese people are proud of being the descendants of the dragon. According to legends, it can show or hide, thin or large, short or long. The vernal equinox rises to the sky, the autumnal equinox dives into the abyss, and calls the wind and rain. These are the images of dragons that have been developed in the late stage, and they are more powerful than the original dragons. Complex. After listening to these words, the two witches felt more interested, as if they hadn't heard enough. They asked Li Zi to continue talking. Li Zi was a little helpless about this, so he had to continue. This kind of saying has auxiliary wings, and it is a real dragon. It is believed that the winged side is a real dragon. For example, in the Western Zhou dynasty, there were a large number of utensils with dragon patterns on them, and even green dragons were in the pre-Qin decorations. There are also wings. It is said that Yinglong and Qinglong are the ancestor dragons. In ancient times, dragons were the symbol of imperial power, and the utensils used in the palace were also decorated with dragons. A flying dragon with wings is the image of the Son of Heaven. Then Li Zi told the two witches about some of the details. The time is also a little bit past, half an hour has passed. The two witches also reacted from the aftertaste, and said in unison, I can't tell, the culture that exists in China is so profound, I want you to take me to see it now. Wait for a chance, I believe that day will not be too long. Li Zi smiled slightly, and did not continue to discuss this topic too much. Then they continued to walk forward with them. Because of the time delay just now, the others had already gone deep into it. Song Yu and the rest of them are not here to be in a daze. Then hurry up, don't waste time. Besides these, I also want to know more about cultural heritage. These are very valuable things. Wanda hurriedly pulled the other party to walk forward. After all, this time should not be wasted. When we came to the innermost part, There were already a lot of people standing here, not so much standing people, as they were watching and admiring. Then the three of them came to a corner again, because in front of them was a porcelain pottery from China. What is this? It looks very delicate and beautiful. Seeing this scene, Wanda's eyes lit up immediately, and then she was full of spirits, as if there was an amazing decoration in front of her, and she immediately fell in love with it. This is Chinese ceramics. There are obvious differences in appearance and microstructure between pottery and porcelain. Although both are composed of crystalline substances, glassy substances and air bubbles, the thickness, density and pores the quantity is different. The pottery is mainly made of clay raw materials, the processing is relatively simple, the porosity is high, and the water absorption is strong. After the two witches finished listening, they immediately regained their spirits. They really couldn't imagine that such porcelain is still a rare treasure even now. There should be some history about it, right? Wanda asked immediately. Li Zi nodded. The history of porcelain is very far away. Porcelain making technology has reached its peak. Pastel is very delicate and has become a new variety that is comparable to the blue and white porcelain known as the national porcelain. The monochromatic glaze of the Qianlong dynasty, blue and white, glaze red, enamel color, pastel and other varieties have extremely exquisite products and innovative varieties on the basis of inheriting the old and new. However, the precious and rich heritage it left to future generations will always radiate brilliant brilliance. He gave the two a general explanation of the history of pottery. After all, this belongs to the cultural heritage that has been steadily passed down in China for thousands of years, and Ming cannot be forgotten casually. It turns out that there is still such a culture. To be honest, I am somewhat inferior. The two witches froze in place, their eyes couldn't stop being amazed. Li Zi smiled and said nothing, but walked forward with the two witches. In the following time, the three of them quickly finished shopping around the exhibition center. As time moved, the sun gradually set, and the afterglow of the past was no longer there. The three of them strolled along the small road. There were not many people, but the wind blowing in front of them made people feel refreshed, as if they were bathed in a spring breeze. That kind of feeling is very peaceful, without a trace of trouble and concern, perhaps because of the company of the two parties, which makes this feeling more warm. At the moment, the lights in New York dimmed, and even the surrounding lights flickered. They couldn't resist the gloom brought by that breath. Compared with the past, this is simply too different. It can be said that there is no sense of atmosphere like before. Let's find a hotel. It feels like the weather has gotten a lot colder. At this time, Wanda rubbed her hands together and kept breathing, as if she wanted to use this to blow away the cold air that was blowing in. Hotel? The dark witch's eyes became a little unnatural, and she looked at the two of them inadvertently. Look what we do. Go to the hotel and sleep. Wanda didn't seem to realize what she was saying. But in the eyes of the two of them, it was a bit embarrassing. Are you talking about sleeping properly or not? The dark witch seemed to be interested at this time, and immediately made fun of it. As you go, you think about those messy things all day long. Wanda also reacted when she heard it, and immediately said in embarrassment. However, just when the two were arguing with each other, it was at this juncture that the three of them looked in a certain direction in unison, and their expressions immediately became dignified at this moment. Li, what shall we do now? Wanda was a little undecided, and asked Li Zi next to her. Come with me. That breath is very strong. Li Zi didn't talk nonsense, and directly took the two women into a cloud of black mist and flew towards him. The reason why he wants to stay away from here is because it is in the center of New York. If a big war starts, it will definitely affect this place. This is not what he wants to see. Soon after, the three of them came to a suburb. This place is almost far away from the whole of New York. Is it finally okay here? Wanda glanced around. But at this moment, boom! The whole world was filled with an incomparably powerful energy, and the clouds in the sky began to rotate crazily, as if they had been swirled by that inexplicable energy. At this moment, the gathered clouds in the sky rolled up crazily, forming a huge void that twisted together. The blue beam of light soaring into the sky immediately turned into a majestic wave, and suddenly gathered together to form a passage connecting another space. The next moment, a red figure slowly descended from the sky, filled with an extremely restless invisible energy, and frightening silver lightning flashed all over his body. As if he couldn't control it, the space vibrated slightly. It seems that some can't bear the coercion and oppression brought by this force. But Li Zi looked over and asked in a low voice, Are you Wei? Don't know me. The man immediately reacted again, and continued, No wonder. The war has not been over for a long time, and you haven't seen me. Don't talk nonsense. What is your purpose for coming here? The dark witch said with extremely gloomy eyes. I have already learned from them that your strength is very strong, so I came here directly. After finishing speaking, A very powerful aura faintly exuded from this person. And at this moment, Li Zi reacted immediately, because this breath was very familiar, just like those demon kings. Could it be? Before he could speak, Fang Fang noticed it, and said with a strange smile, "It seems that you already know who I am." Mephisto. Li Zi's voice was a little hoarse. For the person in front of him, he suddenly understood that the previous demon kings had said this before they fled. It's just that he didn't expect the other party to come directly to the door. Since you understand, then I will solve you here, so as to save a lot of time. Speaking of this, Mephisto immediately rushed towards Li Zi and others. Mephisto's fist is full of power, whoosh. That fist, the moment it was swung out, it was in the air that a terrifying wave like a stormy sea was created. With his shot, an endless wind formed around him and spread out in all directions. Keep scrolling everything between heaven and earth. On the ground, all the trees shook violently due to the terrifying storm. The surrounding trees that were on fire due to the bombardment of this energy were directly rolled into pieces by the terrifying storm at this moment. Towards the distance, fluttering up one after another, covered the sky. Even together with the soil on the ground, at this time, it rolled up crazily. The soil several meters below is exposed, whoosh. Mephisto and Li Zi on the opposite side also sensed the agitated fighting spirit in the opponent's heart at this time. His eyes flickered wildly, and hissed and roared. He knew that Mephisto must be extremely powerful than those demon kings. Only at this time can he appear so confident. Thoughts for a moment. In an instant, Li Zi accelerated the speed of his punching. Whoosh. The terrifying figure, which was already invisible to the naked eye, suddenly accelerated at this moment. Because of his acceleration, the surrounding space twisted crazily, forming circles of ripples like wrinkles. Together with the sky, all the stars are erratic crazily because of the shapeshifting of space. Mephisto. I must let you understand what a loser is. Li Zi's eyes were already flushed from the turbulent mood at the moment. Inside, it is covered with dense blood threads, which looks extremely scary. As for the Mephisto on the opposite side, seeing Li Zi's emotions became agitated, and the attack also became scary. A smug expression immediately appeared on his face. This time I will make sure you all die here. Mephisto has already seen through the reason for the emotional change in Li Zi's heart. So, there was no panic in the bottom of my heart. At the same time, facing the opponent's sudden and intensified offensive, the expression on Mephisto's face also began to become serious. Just in his thoughts. Whoosh. The figure of Mephisto who was attacking Zod earlier became terrifying at this time. It had already broken through the speed of sound, but at this moment, it accelerated even more suddenly. The space around his body also became continuously distorted at this time. All space as far as the eye can see. It was as if a stone had been thrown into the calm water, and there were endless ripples on it. The whole sky, all the sights that can be seen. Just as Mephisto and Li Zi approached rapidly, everything began to twist. Lost its original shape. And this energy was so powerful that the two witches couldn't join the battlefield at all. At that time, the two different forces are still colliding non-stop as if two small planets exploded. Boom. A terrifying roar that could shake the world spread out in all directions. At this moment, a series of fierce winds raged in all directions. Between heaven and earth, every corner is swept by the terrifying and incomparably strong wind. On the ground, the thick land that covered it was directly blown up at this moment. Originally, the endless expanse of white, but at the moment when Mephisto and Li Zi collided, it directly turned into black. All the land, in an instant because of the terrible aftermath, directly turned into a big pit. At the same time, at this time, all the trees on the ground began to shake wildly. But those trees that were closer to the bottom floated directly. He was uprooted by the terrible airflow and flew towards the sky. Soon. On the ground, a large area of land is exposed. There is a huge amount of soil, flying towards the sky. Block out the sun. Boom. Then in an instant. There are endless shockwaves, from the position where the two collided together, they spread towards the four directions. Countless rock formations were directly exposed from the ground under the terrifying impact, and flew up towards the sky, covering most of the sky. Incomparably terrifying. As for those endless aftermaths of collisions, at this time, there is still no form of rest, and they are scattered in all directions. An incomparably terrifying shockwave was formed, as well as shocking madness, rolling an infinite amount of earth and rocks and complete uprooted trees, and leapt towards the distance. The entire ground trembled crazily when it received such a shockwave. Everything is shaking crazily. The sky and the earth are roaring, and everything is shaking. It looked terrible. And Mephisto's gaze was fixed on Li Zi in front of him, without the slightest wavering, his eyes flashed with endless sternness. He already felt that he had to defeat the opposite Li Zi no matter what. After all, only in this way could he kill the most threatening person in front of him. As for Li Zi opposite him, he also stared at the still young face of Mephisto in front of him. In his eyes, Mephisto was just a very ugly monster before. The way Li Zi looked at Mephisto also began to have other changes. "You can't defeat me." Mephisto sneered. Although his size was not very big, he would be unrivaled in other respects. And the most important thing is that compared with those demon kings, his strength is not at the same level at all. "Do you think the victory now belongs to you?" Li Zi sneered. "It's ridiculous." The next moment, Li Zi hit the Mephisto in front of him and hit his head hard. Whoosh! At this moment, the whole world vibrated crazily. Boom! In an instant, the terrifying collision sound diffused in all directions from the position where Mephisto and Li Zi's fists collided. In the world, everything that can be seen is trembling wildly at this moment. On the ground, because of their collision far away in the sky, terrifying cracks spread out one after another. The cracks appeared extremely deep, going straight into the ground, and the endless rock formations rose up from the sky at this time. It was as if a terrifying magnitude 8 earthquake had occurred on the ground. Everything that had been shattered before collapsed directly at this moment. Like a sand sculpture that is extremely fragile, it encountered a terrifying strong wind, and everything lost its shape and flew towards the four directions. And Mephisto stared into Li Zi's eyes as always. The latter also looked back. "Mephisto, you look like a joker to me." Li Zi sneered again and again. The voice fell. A fiery red light suddenly lit up in the pair of eyes that had become extremely angry. At this time, the surrounding air rose wildly. The winter air that had seemed a bit cold before had become as hot as summer in an instant. And at this moment, Li Zi's eyes were crazily bursting out with a dazzling crimson luster. Everything around it was dyed red, as if 2 rounds of red suns had been cast out of thin air in the sky. Everything on the ground was stained with a crimson luster. It is as if the end of the world is coming directly to the world at this time. In the air, even in an instant, a terrible breath spread. The next moment, boom! At this moment, 2 scarlet beams of terrific red beams shot out from his eyes. But Mephisto had just reacted and was about to counterattack, but was directly bombarded by Li Zi's punch in the chest. The whole person, like a kite with a broken string, leapt towards the rear in an instant. At the same time, the huge burning pain coming from his chest also made him cry out uncontrollably. "You!" Mephisto's painful cry followed his figure and flew backwards in an instant. At this moment, the entire sky trembled violently. But at this moment, the figure that flew upside down turned into an afterimage that could not be seen clearly by the naked eye, forming a series of spatial folds in the air that were visible to the naked eye. Round after round of ripples spread out in the air immediately. Whoosh! After Li Zi's shining eyes gradually dimmed, Mephisto has leapt away from its original position by at least tens of kilometers. Even his chest, after experiencing such a terrifying bombardment, even began to turn red. Wheeze, even, when Mephisto breathed, the air he exhaled became very scorching hot. Although there was some pain, it still did not cause substantial damage to him. Damn! Mephisto began to circulate the icy air in her lungs, while cooling down her chest that had been bombarded. "Mephisto, you are still too young. The current you are too weak to be qualified." Li Zi's voice suddenly rang in his ears. Mephisto raised her head suddenly when she heard the other party's voice. However, Li Zi, who was tens of kilometers away from him before, flashed in front of him in an instant. The expression on his face is also extremely ferocious. The surrounding air also began to stir crazily because of Li Zi's high-speed movement. Looking at those madly rolling gangsters, Mephisto has no doubts at all. If he hits those fists in the middle of those air currents, he will be crushed into powder directly by the terrible airflow. And the moment Li Zi's words just spit out from his mouth, Mephisto saw that the other party suddenly raised his fist and slammed it towards him fiercely. But at this moment, the fist wrapped in endless power flickered crazily. Pieces of air were shattered, and Mephisto was ruthlessly bombarded to death. Mephisto's pupils reflected the frantically enlarged fist in his own eyes, and his pupils shrank suddenly. However, the current Li Zi is too close to him. Even if he wanted to fight back, it would be too late. So, without any choice, Mephisto can only raise her arms in the blink of an eye and stand in front of her. Boom! In an instant, Li Zi's terrifying fist slammed hard on the raised arms in front of Mephisto. Endless and majestic power poured directly into the arm in front of him in an instant. Boom boom boom, in an instant. It was under the bombardment of such a terrifying force. Mephisto's body flew backwards uncontrollably again. Boom boom boom. The air was flying backwards because of his body, creating ripples visible to the naked eye, and then, was forced out of a space channel by his body. Boom. It hit the very center of the mountain fiercely. It happened that the whole body fell in the center of the mountain, surrounded by tall and dense trees. And at the moment when it crashed down, formed a circle, the terrifying shockwave spread towards all directions. In an instant, dense cracks covered the ground visible to the naked eye. And Li Zi also followed at this time, looking condescendingly at Mephisto below. Your strength is too weak. Li Zi looked at Mephisto and said slowly. The next moment, he clenched his fists. Boom. The next moment, amidst the bang, Li Zi's speed suddenly increased. Because of his sudden acceleration, the surrounding space was hit with ripples visible to the naked eye, and he rushed towards the Mephisto below. His fist smashed open a vacuum channel in the air, pulling out a terrifying afterimage. The bombardment did not arrive. Mephisto already felt the horrific killing intent as if the stormy waves hit the shore. You are such an idiot, he roared and charged towards Li Zi. The next moment, Li Zi has already punched Mephisto head-on. The shocking power directly exploded to the extreme at this moment. It is like a turbulent wave pressing forward, and it is even more like a mountain of 10,000 meters rolling down. Boom. Instantly. The landslides and the ground cracked, and the roar of the world in the space between the heavens and the earth resounded loudly. The dense dust and mist that covered the sky soared into the sky, mighty and mighty, like the sun and the moon shaking. At this moment, everything and everything, all at this moment, trembled crazily. As if the doomsday is coming, the titans step on the ground and destroy everything. All the surrounding buildings are directly shattered at this moment. Even thousands of meters apart, you can feel the violent tremors. Immediately afterwards, the strong wind generated by the collision of Li Zi and Mephisto immediately swept away, forming a series of terrifying hurricanes, flying sand and rocks, rolling countless gravels and flying upwards. The howling wind continued. Ah! The moment Mephisto and Li Zi collide, unpredictable and terrifying scenes occurred in the surrounding environment, like a purgatory on Earth, with ruined ground everywhere. After the crazy collision between Li Zi and Mephisto, the battle between the two sides became more intense. I will never let you survive, your threat is too great. Mephisto broke out with her own speed again, and rushed towards Li in front of her. The super speed, brought by his own demon blood, was directly urged to the extreme at this time. In the air, transparent tracks were drawn. That's the vacuum tunnel knocked out by Superman. Even. There are also space folds like ripples, which were knocked out because of his movement. The surrounding mountains within 100 meters all started to shapeshift crazily due to the impact of Mephisto. And Li Zi, who was opposite him, did not sit still. Li Zi also squinted his eyes the moment he saw Mephisto start to move. The next moment, Li Zi also moved. The whole person turned into an afterimage invisible to the naked eye, leaving a vacuum channel in the air, and slammed towards Mephisto in front of him fiercely. Boom. Mephisto and Li Zi, two fists collided. Moment. A strong wind visible to the naked eye blows out. The surrounding space seems to be squeezed out of a burst of distortion due to the collision of the two, showing a broken shape like folds and ripples. Round after round of terrifying storms, immediately at the place where the two met, they continued to spread towards the surroundings. Whoosh. Next second, the two people who were fisting in the sky above the mountain uncontrollably backed up a few points. However, immediately afterwards, neither Mephisto nor Li Zi intended to stop their offensive. At this moment, Li Zi said coldly, I must deal with you as soon as possible, your threat is also too great. As he guessed before, Mephisto is not at the same level as those demon kings. The most important thing is that it is also a regenerative healing factor. Next moment, he growled, read down. In the palms of Li Zi's hands, a terrifying crimson light like fire was already shining. Boom. Two beams of energy surged, like two crimson beams of ferocious dragons, instantly carrying endless heat, piercing through the air and lacing towards Mephisto. Two crimson light beams seem to be able to smash everything. The space where it passes is because of the sparkling fluctuations like ripples. Next second. Go to hell. Mephisto also roared, leaning forward slightly, her eyes glowing red. Boom. The two red light beams, which are not inferior to Li Zi's power at all, burst out in his eyes immediately. The light beams on both sides collided instantly. Boom, in the sound of terrifying energy collisions. Waves of sound waves instantly dispersed at the collision of energy. All of a sudden, the place where they collided gathered boundless majestic energy. High above the sky, seems to have an extra red sun. The appallingly high temperature spread out in an instant, raising the temperature of the space within 1,000 miles around by several degrees. The surrounding ground and the sky within tens of thousands of miles were illuminated into a bewitching red by the collision of two red light beams colliding together in the sky. There is no way you can win me. Li Zi has absolute confidence, and his eyes are slightly narrowed, like an invincible god of war standing in the void, without any fear. From top to bottom, there is an extremely roomy aura all the time. Just standing there can make the opponent feel timid. Now you talk too much, you can't kill me. When Mephisto heard this, her eyes became extremely fierce, as if she was no longer the same as before, and there was a very obvious difference between the two. You are too confident in yourself. Li Zi didn't have any extra nonsense, and the whole figure rushed towards Mephisto in front of him again, and the energy between the two burst out again. Boom boom boom. The aftermath of round after round, above the sky, spread down. All the fragments on the ground were blown over and over. This time. No longer equal. Rather, the red beam emitted by Mephisto is obviously more powerful than the energy emitted by Li Zi. Instant words. In Mephisto's eyes, the red light beams burst out, but at this moment, they pressed towards the opponent's position one by one. Your strength has increased. Seeing things developing in this direction, the expression on Li Zi's face was even more astonishing to the extreme. Because the occurrence of such a situation proves that the Mephisto at this moment has already begun to beat himself in terms of pure strength. What a terrifying ability this is, Mephisto. I'm starting to think you're F***ked. Li Zi let out a roar immediately. Only. The moment he yelled, 22. The Mephisto in front of him instantly shot out a red beam of light from his eyes, and his power was raised to another level. It turned out that it forcibly suppressed the energy blasted by Li Zi on the opposite side, and let now overwhelm it. Boom. Directly smash Li Zi's energy sphere. It turned into scattered red stars, fluttering constantly in the air, and fell down. Like a little red rain. The next moment. Boom. The red light beams in Mephisto's eyes shot out directly, ready to hit Li Zi's chest. Fortunately, the latter dodged in time, and the emitted red beam did not hit him. Boom. In an instant. There was endless heat energy, and at this moment, it was like endless waves layer upon layer, bombarding the mountain body fiercely. And Mephisto also saw the right moment at this time. Whoosh. The whole person suddenly flashed, and the surrounding air was violently shaken because of his movement, and ripples like wrinkles dispersed from the air at this moment. And he had already flashed directly behind Li Zi at the moment when Li Zi was frozen because of the hot vision. You have hidden your strength. At this time, Li Zi began to realize that the current Mephisto has not only surpassed himself in strength. Together with the combat experience, at this time, they are crazily chasing after themselves. However, just before his thoughts fell, Mephisto flashed behind Li Zi, but her eyes narrowed slowly. I'll let you know what a disparity in strength is. He murmured under his breath, but it was a whip kick, and it bombarded the opponent fiercely. Boom. In a horrible collision sound. Because of the impact just now, Li Zi became stiff, but his whole body was like a rag doll, facing the ground uncontrollably, and retreating rapidly behind him. Boom. The moment he reacted, the ground, which was already covered with cracks before, trembled suddenly, and all the earth and rocks that had been shattered into pieces were directly turned into fine and dense powder amidst this terrifying tremor. The world shook, and everything seemed extremely terrifying. Mephisto, on the other hand, looked seriously at Li Zi embedded in the ground. Suddenly. Whoosh, on the ground. Li Zi, who was backing up just now, roared suddenly, and rushed towards Mephisto in the sky. Do you only have this strength? If so, you are doomed to lose. Li Zi said in a low voice. He now has a general understanding of Mephisto's specific strength. Quickly approaching Mephisto. And Mephisto on the opposite side, when hearing his words. The expression on his face changed slightly, and he was a little dazed. Mephisto couldn't help but sneer. Also at this time, Li Zi on the opposite side had already rushed in front of him and slammed into Mephisto's body fiercely. You die for me, Li Zi roared wildly. But Mephisto was hit by this huge amounts of impact, but he couldn't recover for a while. Boom boom boom. Just a few breaths. Mephisto was blown away by Li Zi, and hit the ground hard. Boom boom boom. Layer after layer of soil spread out in all directions in an instant. The soil layer, which should obviously be extremely hard, is as fragile as a bubble in front of the strength of Mephisto and Li Zi. It was easily penetrated layer by layer. Ahem. Are you hiding your strength just now? At this moment, Mephisto stood up, her eyes filled with incomparable doubts. He had almost used all his strength just now, but despite this, the opponent was still able to stand up unscathed. What's going on? Didn't I say that even if you were a Mephisto of the demon race, you are nothing more than an ant in my eyes? Li Zi stepped out slowly, his voice extremely cold. Heard this. Mephisto got angry instantly. Waves of incomparably powerful energy were instantly stimulated from the body, as if destroying the world. Next second. All the passionate movement between heaven and earth fell silent in this moment, and a feeling of coldness and indifference instantly filled all corners. As if the last second was still a raging fire, the air that burned people's hearts and minds was churning, and instantly turned into a world of ice and snow, the ice cold to the bone, and the flesh and blood turned into ice cold. Round after round of terror to the point of almost solidified oppression, crazily churned in the air. Li Zi, who was standing not far away, felt this breath, and also put away his expression, becoming extremely dignified. The next moment, a more terrifying power than before suddenly exploded from the body lying in the palm of Mephisto. Like endless waves overlapping one after another, sweeping towards all directions. The scorching sun above the sky was dimmed by 3 points at this moment. That powerful aura that seemed to have existed since ancient times burst out in an instant with an extremely arrogant posture. I'm a god now, you can't kill me, you can hide your strength, so can I. Mephisto roared non-stop like an ancient Mephisto, covering the sky with one hand. The entire sky was instantly eclipsed, and even the clouds didn't move anymore. The entire world is filled with icy cold, silent, and ashen horror scenes, and those spaces even vibrate slightly, and there is no longer the tranquility before. Do you think that if you hide your strength, I will lose it? Li Zi's eyes became extremely calm, and an even more terrifying aura burst out from him. Boom. A surge of majestic and vast energy suddenly exploded from Li Zi himself. That energy surrounds him. A strong destructive aura was emitted towards the surroundings. That powerful energy is terrifying. At this moment, the whole earth trembled crazily. Everything is cracking, trembling constantly, even those energies haven't exploded yet. Just slowly brewing, numerous cracks have already spread on the earth. At the same time, in the entire radius of 100 miles, the floating meteorites, or other trees, are trembling crazily at this moment. Even the central area is boiling at this moment. On its surface, bright flames suddenly spewed out, as well as violent light. The entire land, all the surroundings, are being blazingly illuminated at this moment. Obviously there are other intact places, but after feeling the impact of Li Zi's energy, they started to become extremely unstable. It seems like it could collapse at any moment. Constantly turbulent, constantly churning. As for other lands, various degrees of instability have also begun to appear. They are slowly showing signs of disintegration. And Li Zi's influence is far more than that. The powerful energy is still constantly spreading towards the distance. Everything was spread to the entire surroundings, and they all began to shake. Those twinkling stars also became flickering and flickering at this moment. Everything in the surrounding universe is affected by the activation of Li Zi's powerful energy at this moment. Like a piece of glass, an extremely heavy piece of iron is placed, and the huge amounts of pressure make everything unbearable. It seems that in the next second, everything will collapse. Midair, Li Zi looked at Mephisto seriously. The opponent is the regenerative healing factor. He still has some doubts about this. He is very convinced that if the opponent is completely wiped out, maybe this battle will be over. Boom. As that energy was activated to a higher and higher level, everything in the entire Marvel main universe began to shake wildly. Extremely violent, the thick energy like a terrifying tide, started from the earth, and quickly spread to every corner of the entire radius of 100 miles. All of them are covered with dense cracks. At this moment, every place has become a piece of porcelain that is full of cracks and shatters when touched. Now you can experience the fear brought by this powerful energy. Li Zi raised his other hand. The invisible energy was instantly mobilized by him, as if it was an unspoken invincible spell, spreading rapidly in all directions. The entire sky also changed color at this time. Almost every time the color changed, there was a sound of thunder, and that endless and majestic energy seemed to be roaring non-stop, wanting to destroy everything completely. No trace of perfection will be left behind. An invisible force enveloped Mephisto in an instant. When the latter saw this scene, his expression immediately became very dignified, without any hesitation. Because he knew that if he couldn't stop the opponent's actions in time, even if he was a regenerative healing factor, he would inevitably suffer a devastating blow. At that time, it will not be an existence that he can easily control. Next moment, Mephisto also rushed over immediately. Endless black mist swirled around her body, as if an extremely hot energy was venting everything. I said, you will never beat me. The strength of our demon clan is far beyond your imagination. While Mephisto rushed over, she still didn't forget to taunt the other party. Li Zi didn't even pay attention to the other party, and his whole body was like a red light, which almost surpassed the shackles of time, and even the air trembled slightly because of this speed. Moment. The sound was like rolling thunder, and it rushed towards Mephisto. The blooming reflected a dazzling and blazing white light, dyeing everything into a dazzling white, very dazzling. At the same time, there is endless majestic and terrifying white energy, violently bursting out from the metal, turning into a boundless stormy wave, rushing towards Chen Tian's direction. The entire surrounding space vibrated crazily at this moment, and was driven by the terrifying energy that swept past, forming dense wrinkles and ripples visible to the naked eye. Boom. In the air, all the energy in all corners instantly became violent. Crazy surges like a gust of wind and rain, like 1,000 waves, roaring and slapping towards Mephisto. Boom boom. All the spaces touched by those energies are rapidly collapsing. I said before, your strength is still too weak. It's not my opponent at all, hurry up, or I will return to the Angel Clan and help them, and then I will completely wipe out your Demon Clan from the world. Li Zi's voice was very cold, and the indifference revealed in his eyes was incomparably blooming. It's too late for you to say these things now. If we can't get rid of you, we will have a hard time. Mephisto is not afraid at all. Since he became a Mephisto, he will not be intimidated by the other party's nonsense. Furthermore, if the opponent's strength is really capable of directly crushing him, he would have done so from the very beginning. But the fact is not as expected, he thinks the other party is just bluffing. Without thinking too much, he brought out his whole body to the extreme. The next moment. Boom. The boundless energy in front of him rushed towards him, engulfing his figure in an instant. Shocking torrents of energy, at this moment, are like the most turbulent underwater undercurrents, each carrying the power enough to shatter a universe, and ruthlessly hit Mephisto's body. Boom boom boom. Those majestic energies seem to be endless and boundless, with no end in sight. Mephisto's complexion also became a little ugly, and she was still doing her last struggle. Although he didn't feel the threat from his life, the terrifying aura emanating from the opponent's body was extremely obvious. Even the surrounding collapsed mountains, when Li Zi aroused the most powerful energy, began to twist crazily under the washing of those boundless energies. Boom. Wherever the eye enters, patches of white and turbulent energy suddenly turned into a turbulent and shocking wave, stirring everything in this mountain. That was Li Zi's onslaught that activated even more ferocious energy. The entire surrounding space was shaking violently at this moment, and the unimaginably rich black energy rushed directly in front of Mephisto. Boom. Those energies that spread to everything around are still constantly surging. Stir everything vigorously. It even turned into countless turbulent torrents, carrying the terrifying power to crush everything, and bombarded towards Mephisto. Boom boom. Boom boom. Under that endless energy, the entire suburban area was constantly trembling. The black energy is constantly stirring. On the edge of the surrounding land, the cracks that were born became more and more dense. Next second, the entire formation could no longer withstand such a huge energy impact. Even if the main target of those energy bombardments is Mephisto, but only a small amount of energy spilled out is not something this land can bear. Boom. With the sound of huge amounts of bombing, the entire formation finally couldn't bear it anymore, and was directly blasted to pieces. Countless broken stones, like shards of glass, splashed everywhere. And with the disappearance of the stratum, the bang just now also disappeared. Those passionate energies, without the suppression of energy, became more and more turbulent and violent in the boundless void, like endless grinding discs that crushed everything, and ruthlessly rolled towards the center. Boom boom boom. Ripples visible to the naked eye immediately spread out from the centers of those black energy torrents. At this moment, all the gravel around was attracted to the center by the turbulent energy torrent, and was easily crushed into powder. The boundless destruction and disorder are vividly expressed from these black energy torrents. Mephisto. This time it's really over. Li Zi looked indifferently at the turbulent torrent of turbulent energy in front of him, and couldn't help muttering to himself. Now. After that energy was fully stimulated, the terrifying destructive power revealed, even the person who emitted that energy was shocked. He was sure that if he dared to step into it, then he might not be able to persist in it for even a second. It will be crushed into powder in an instant, like those world fragments that are attracted by the torrent of black energy. Even if the opponent is a powerful Mephisto. Boom. The next moment, the turbulent and boundless terrifying turbulent energy suddenly crushed everything that could be destroyed around it into pieces. A sense of boundless rolling and vibration suddenly came out of it. All the surrounding void, under the attraction of this boundless torrent of energy, collapsed crazily, bursting out with boundless attraction. It turned out to be an endless black hole, devours everything around nothingness. Looking at the past like this, you can't feel any sense of life in it. This time it can be over. Li Zi felt the terrifying aura emanating from the black hole in front of him, and his body, which had been tense all the time, relaxed unconsciously. However, the next moment, "You don't think I'm going to die, do you?" Mephisto's voice suddenly came out of it. The moment Li Zi heard this voice, the expression on his face turned serious. He was a little unbelievable, after all, even he felt a burst of terror from that energy. It stands to reason that the other party is Mephisto, who should have died tragically after being impacted by this powerful energy. How come? It's okay, let you try again. Just surprised, Li Zi took a deep breath, and rushed towards the opponent again. You won't stand a chance this time. Mephisto didn't dare to relax this time either. Although the energy wave just now didn't cause any substantial damage to him, he could clearly feel the terrifying coercion brought by that energy wave from inside. Next moment, the two fought together again. Boom. The void vibrated. Mephisto, you shouldn't have come to look for me this time, you're just looking for your own death. Li Zi's body grew stronger, and a pair of clear eyes began to project a strong, strange brilliance. Even the surrounding void was dyed black because of this. The voice did not fall. With a sudden force, he directly opened Mephisto's huge palm away from his face. The latter's chest and the huge head, which was like a boundless mountain at the moment, were directly exposed in front of him. Li Zi looked at each other with a disdainful smile on the corner of his mouth. It's time to end. He spoke softly. The voice fell. Boom. His figure flickered suddenly, and the black hole that had just formed behind him opened directly. And Li Zi himself has turned into a black line, rushing to Mephisto with extreme speed. He raised his fist high. You Mephisto don't seem to be a real powerhouse either. The tone is indifferent, making the final judgment. Mephisto looked at this scene with horror on her face. He felt boundless fear and was engulfing himself directly. A cold feeling of approaching death quickly spread in his heart. Especially the incomparably astonishing turbulent energy emitted by the opponent himself, which caused a subtle change in his mood at this moment. Next second, all the surging energy in Li Zi's body was concentrated in his fist at this moment. All the energy that went wild suddenly condensed into one point at this moment. Like a volcano before it erupts, it looks calm, but in fact it has accumulated boundless energy. Boom. Li Zi punches. The power accumulated to the extreme suddenly exploded at this moment. The boundless power is like endless waves surging, rushing forward seems to destroy everything. Unstoppable. All the forces that dare to stand in front of this fist seem to be easily crushed by this force. With Li Zi's fist punching forward fiercely, all the surrounding voids rolled crazily at this moment. Everything was shaken suddenly at this moment, and it seemed that everything was about to collapse. At this moment, Li Zi's fist bloomed with a dazzling black luster, which was the majesty of power. I will never lose. You know I'm a Mephisto. Mephisto roared non-stop. Now he is no longer calm as before, his face is even more ugly, his eyes are almost filled with endless anger. Because he is a dignified Mephisto, how could he easily lose to a boy like the other party? This is absolutely a fact that he absolutely cannot accept. You have already lost, but you just don't want to admit it. Now I will send you on your way. Li Zi completely ignored his incompetent roar, and the energy aura he brought with him surged a lot again, almost covering the opponent's aura. The turbulent energy turned into starbursts, and all of them rushed into his body quickly, like a black flower lotus bursting out in a dark night, endless rays of light shining on the entire sky. You have already lost, but you just don't want to admit it. Now I will send you on your way. Li Zi completely ignored his incompetent roar, and the energy aura he brought with him surged a lot again, almost covering the opponent's aura. The turbulent energy turned into starbursts, and all of them rushed into his body quickly, like a black flower lotus bursting out in a dark night, endless rays of light shining on the entire sky. I will lose? You're too self-righteous, human. Mephisto's gloomy voice resounded through the heavens, as if it was an endless voice from hell, full of extremely domineering fear and oppression, almost making people breathless. The endless oppressive aura emanating from it instantly enveloped the entire area for hundreds of miles. The earth was trembling, and everything was like broken tiles, and they fell down quickly with the strong wind caused by that energy. At this time, he is also fighting against the opponent with strong means, because he knows very well in his heart that if he admits defeat, not only he but also the demon clan behind him will be buried in the opponent's hands. This is something he will never accept. It is also because of this that he must not relax for any moment. Do you really think that your strength has reached the point where it cannot be matched? You are completely a joke in my eyes now, without any threat at all. As soon as Li Zi's deep voice came out, Mephisto was immediately enraged, and endless black aura erupted from itself, as if the whole world couldn't bear this powerful energy. Even the shattered stones on the ground all emerged under the violent scrolling of this energy, as if they couldn't bear this powerful energy. Then try it. Mephisto didn't have any ink marks, and turned into an endless black aura, and rushed towards the opponent violently. A pair of fists approached in an instant. The strong wind brought by the fists caused bursts of sonic booms in the air. There was no extra the sound. It seems that at this moment, all the cracks burst out. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? Not to be outdone, Li Zi rushed over, and also used endless black aura to transform into a black lit fist, which seemed to contain infinite power mixed together, and slammed down heavily on the opponent's face. Bang! Mephisto instantly felt the coercion from the fist, especially the pain from the impact, forcing him to feel a little numbness from it. How could this kid be so powerful? Haven't had time to think about it yet. The offensive brought by Li Zi was like pear blossoms raining down on them. It turned into a sudden attack from different directions, and all of them converged at the same point. Because that energy couldn't bear the split, it instantly caused the space to begin to split. Seeing this, Li Zi immediately shouted to the two witches not far behind, "Go and stop the space split." As soon as the voice fell, he sensed that the opponent had an opportunity to counterattack, and Zi slammed his fist on his arm in the same way. Fortunately, he blocked it in time, otherwise he might not be able to resist the opponent's attack. "You are always a loser, you can't defeat me." Mephisto's voice was indifferent, as if she had increased incomparably huge amounts of strength in an instant, and every time the attack fell, it was almost shocking and painful. If Li Zi hadn't used the protective cover formed by the black aura to block, he might not be able to resist it. Li Zi's eyes became determined. Don't get carried away too much. Although after the previous few fights, you can clearly see the opponent's fighting style, but even so, the offensive brought by the opponent is still vigorous, without that relaxed feeling. Boom. The clouds on the entire sky were also torn apart instantly at this time, and there was a feeling of seeing the light through the clouds and mists. The space became more intense at this time, as if a bit unable to bear the coercion of this energy. The next moment, Li Zi's figure turned into an afterimage in the air, like a silver thread blooming with brilliance, approaching him suddenly. Whoosh! But in an instant, that silver line has already entered the attacking range of the opponent. There is even a trajectory composed of red high-temperature flames rubbed around it. Along with his rapid movement, there were even more sharp friction sounds and sonic booms in the sky, hanging down from the sky. At the same time, there is also endless airflow. As he advances, it is driven towards the ground and bombarded down. On the shattered ground, the endless boulders were all blown away by the raging strong energy. Whoosh! The next moment, the bursting sound suddenly accelerated, and the space in front of him was squeezed into ripples like wrinkles because of his faster and faster speed. Everything in the sky looks distorted from a distance. The turbulent and majestic power is like an endless tide at this moment, slapping towards the ground. The menacing murderous intent locked Mephisto tightly. "You will always be a loser." Li Zi rushed towards him without any extra nonsense. Boom. Li Zi's eyes suddenly burst into a dazzling crimson light. Two raging and violent red fists blasted through the air and burst out. It hit the rushing Mephisto hard. Boom. Amidst the explosion that shook the world, the menacing Mephisto was directly blasted out and landed heavily on the mountain. All the turbulent momentum disappeared at this moment. The world fell into silence for an instant. Without him. Mephisto continued to become even more annoyed, but launched a fierce offensive on her own initiative. Boom boom boom. The moment that Behemoth's fingertips penetrated into the Earth's atmosphere, an endless sea of flames burned from his expression. There is even more turbulent, violent and boundless terrifying air pressure that bombards the surroundings fiercely. On the ground, everything began to tremble crazily, landslides and tsunamis, the color of the sky and the earth changed, and a thick dust curtain rose from the sky. Countless boulders, earth and rocks on the surface of the earth, huge amounts of seawater, and even because of the gravitational force erupting from the other party, they floated towards the sky while swinging. Then in the next second, boom! Under the boundless pressure that surged down, he was directly bombarded into pieces. This blow contained Mephisto's monstrous anger. The space was shattering, the sky was shattering, and everything on the ground was shaking. The terrifying power contained in his strike is unstoppable. It is as if trying to penetrate the entire star with a radius of 100 miles. You will pay for your actions. Mephisto suddenly fell into a state of extreme rage. In those 2 rounds of his eyes as huge as the sun, monstrous rage surged up, and the roaring sound waves directly made the whole surrounding tremble. At this moment, it was as if all the living beings felt a terrifying oppression that would destroy the world, and they were crushed hard towards the ground. Seems to bombard everything into powder too. Your plan cannot succeed. Li Zi's indifferent voice sounded again, but this time it was very calm, without the tension and anxiety before. After the previous few battles, he has figured out the tricks used by the opponent. Moreover, in the breath that Mephisto emanated from the other party, he felt a familiar smell. That is a horrible breath. Do you really think you've won? The other party's arrogant laughter sounded again. Li Zi's eyes were narrowed, his gaze was as bright as a torch. You are hopeless, Li Zi said without fear. Although he knew that his opponent was strong in the previous confrontation, he still did not give up at the last moment. After all, he still has the last ray of hope. Ha ha ha, you are simply ridiculous, the strength of our demon clan is beyond your comprehension. The other party's arrogant laughter became more and more rampant. Right now you only have parts to be destroyed. Do you think I'm afraid of you? There was a sneer on the corner of Li Zi's mouth. He knew that the other party was trying to scare him. I will kill you directly, otherwise it will be really hard for me to hate you. The other party's words immediately set off alarm bells in Li Zi's heart. HMPH, you think too highly of yourself. Li Zi's eyes gradually became cold and looked at each other. The other party stopped laughing suddenly, and looked at him playfully. You are playing with fire and setting yourself on fire. This is my confidence. Li Zi shook his head very positively. Oh. There was a strange look in the other party's eyes. Why do you think I can't kill you? Because your strength is too weak, Li Zi said with a determined face. Ha 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 ha. The other party suddenly laughed, and looked at Li Zi with a mocking face. Do you think I really don't have that strength? In that case, don't talk nonsense, do it quickly. Li Zi didn't pay any attention to the other party's words. You. Mephisto finally got angry, and a strong killing intent erupted from her body. In an instant, the whole space became depressed, as if the sky had collapsed. Li Zi was calm and calm. At this moment, he realized that the opponent's strength had not been truly released at all. Then I'll see you on your way. I want to see how many caddies you weigh. The opponent rushed towards Li Zi violently, his fists smashed towards Li Zi like a storm, and violent energy filled the surroundings. In an instant, the two fought for more than a dozen rounds. Boom boom. There was a violent crash. Li Zi staggered and almost fell, while the opponent relied on his super strong physique to stand firm. At the moment Li Zi's clothes were already in tatters, and his body was covered with wounds. Not bad, I didn't expect that you were still a bit sleepy. The other party looked at Li Zi with a bit of surprise in his eyes, and then a cruel smile appeared on his face. But, today, you must die. Snort. Li Zi snorted softly, his eyes revealing strong determination. You think you can kill me with just this ability? Hee hee, don't underestimate yourself. Your opponent is a god. The other party suddenly sneered. You should be very aware of the gap between yourself and me. Li Zi's complexion did not change, he definitely knows it well. Although his strength is not bad, if he can't deal with the person in front of him in a short time, he will definitely become irritable. You talk too much nonsense. The other party ignored Li Zi's words, and instead said mockingly, in my eyes, you have no chance of winning at all. Yeah? Li Zi sneered, didn't you also kill me? The other party froze for a moment. Yeah, why didn't he kill this guy? However, he was only slightly distracted for a moment, and soon regained his composure, sneering. Although my strength is not the strongest among the demon clan, I will kill you without any effort. I don't care who sent you, you will definitely die today. As soon as the words fell, the opponent's figure suddenly rushed towards Li Zi, and punched Li Zi's chest fiercely. Bang! The two clashed head-on again. This time Li Zi didn't hold anything back either. Terrifying strength erupted all over his body, and countless black auras suddenly jumped out, as if reflecting the entire sky. As soon as the impact hit, Mephisto felt a huge amount of counter-shock force. He couldn't stand for a while, a mouthful of blood spurted out, and his body flew backwards like a kite with a broken string, falling heavily on the ground. On the ground. Pissed. This time, Mephisto's eyes finally showed a trace of panic. He never expected that the opponent's strength began to increase. Bang! The two clashed head-on again. This time Li Zi didn't hold anything back either. Terrifying strength erupted all over his body, and countless black auras suddenly jumped out, as if reflecting the entire sky. As soon as the impact hit, Mephisto felt a huge amount of counter-shock force coming. He couldn't stand for a while, a mouthful of blood spewed out, and his body flew backwards like a kite with a broken string. He fell heavily to the ground. Pissed. This time, Mephisto's eyes finally showed a trace of panic. He never expected that the opponent's strength began to increase. Damn it, how is it possible? His eyes were full of disbelief. You must know that during this period of time, his strength has been growing crazily, almost evaporating the strength of his whole body to the extreme. But even so, in front of the opponent, he still lost a few tricks. What kind of terrifying power is this? Could it be that the other party is still concealing a deeper level of strength? He was full of doubts and apprehensions. However, Mephisto is Mephisto after all. Although he was surprised, he quickly reacted, his figure flickered, and charged towards Li Zi again. A hint of sarcasm flashed in Li Zi's eyes. It's up to you. Now you are no longer my opponent. He sneered, as if he no longer regarded the other party as a real opponent. The hands blasted out again. When the two meet, a violent force sweeps away, and the surrounding space is shattered inch by inch. Mephisto's complexion changed, and there was a look of horror in her eyes. He didn't expect the opponent's strength to have reached such a level. What's going on? But even so, Mephisto is absolutely unwilling to lose at this point. If the opponent is given a chance to turn defeat into victory, all the demon clan will die tragically in the hands of this person. He absolutely cannot tolerate this kind of thing happening in front of him. Mephisto let out a roar, his eyes burst out with a monstrous and fierce aura, his body surged with demonic nature, his body grew rapidly, and in a blink of an eye, he became a 4-foot-high, pitch-black monster with its teeth and claws, horrifying. Looking up to the sky with a roar, he killed the overvoltage directly. Li Zi snorted coldly. Instead of retreating, he punched him. The two fought together in an instant. Although Li Zi has an advantage of points, it is not easy to kill him, especially the opponent has already transformed into form, and he feels that the opponent has been strengthened in all aspects. Once the opponent seizes the opportunity, I am afraid that he will not be able to fight. For a while, the two sides fell into a stalemate, and no one could do anything but entangle each other. At this moment, the void around Li Zi burst open suddenly, and a vast coercion swept down from the void, covering the entire sky. A dangerous omen suddenly rose in Li Zi's heart. Seeing the cracks in the void expand slowly, and then a huge monster stepped out, standing like an Optimus Prime, exuding a coercion that made the world pale, oppressing it like a towering mountain. Second Mephisto? At this moment, Li Zi was shocked. He never expected that the second Mephisto of the demon clan would come here in person, and his own strength was no less than that of the opponent. What should I do now? At this moment, the void around Li Zi burst open suddenly, and a vast coercion swept down from the void, covering the entire sky. A dangerous omen suddenly rose in Li Zi's heart. Seeing the cracks in the void expand slowly, and then a huge monster stepped out, standing like an Optimus Prime, exuding a coercion that made the world pale, oppressing it like a towering mountain. Second Mephisto? At this moment, Li Zi was shocked. He never expected that the second Mephisto of the demon clan would come here in person, and his own strength was no less than that of the opponent. What should I do now? Do you really want to fight each other? At this time, a black halo appeared around the body of the Mephisto, forming a vortex and swallowing it. Immediately afterwards, the black vortex turned into a pitch-black sharp sword, slashing towards Li Zi with an indomitable edge. Not good. Li Zi's complexion changed slightly. Seeing that the sharp sword was about to fall on him, Li Zi had a thought, and swung endless black aura with both hands. A phantom with huge amounts of Taiyang appeared behind him instantly, and a blazing flame spewed out, matching the sword. The swords clashed together. Rumble. The terrifying explosion resounded through the sky, and a layer of ripples visible to the naked eye quickly spread, rippling towards the surroundings, and the void shattered and collapsed wherever it passed. At this moment, a golden halo appeared under Li Zi's feet, supporting it, making him avoid opening the bottle safely. But at this time, there was a muffled groan, and a huge body flew upside down in the distance, smashing hard into the jungle in the distance. Whose attack is this? Li Zi looked into the distance, his pupils shrank sharply, and his face was shocked. Because he clearly felt that if the blow just now hadn't come from a certain force, he might not be able to hold on. Li Zi was surprised, and quickly looked into the distance. At this time, two figures slowly came out from the void. He was wearing a magic robe, surrounded by golden light, slender and fierce, with a pair of eyes scanning like sharp knives. This man is Steven. Why are you here? Li Zi's heart was filled with turmoil. It seems that you guys came very timely. We arrived when we felt a very strong energy. Steven said slowly, it seems that your situation is not very good. What kind of monsters are these? Li Zi simply explained to the other party. The latter also understood. Also at this time, the mysterious Mephisto, who broke through the void, spoke slowly. Boy, what's your name? What are you? Do I need to tell you? Li Zi took a deep breath and said in a low voice. Your tone is not small. This Mephisto nodded slightly, and said, but it's no wonder, after all, you severely injured several demon kings under our command in the realm of gods, and this time I can leave your whole body. Li Zi frowned upon hearing this. He didn't expect the other party to know his situation so well. Afterwards, he quickly realized that it was difficult for the opponent not to know about his battle in the Angel clan. You ugly bastard, you know my situation so well. Li Zi said indifferently. In that case, let me bury you here with my own hands. This Mephisto said indifferently, and then waved his hand, only to see a black saber suddenly condensed in the surrounding void, with a gloomy light shining. The next moment, he gave a low shout, and the black saber slashed towards Li Zi. Li Zi's face was solemn, his fists were clenched tightly, the energy in his body gushed out wildly, poured into his arms, and then he greeted him with 10 fists. Boom. The two collided, the void trembled, and a dazzling shockwave spread in all directions. Li Zi was blown away, and there was a numb pain in his body. Although he was not injured, the tactile sensation was very real. But the Mephisto just shook a few times before it stabilized. As expected of the second Mephisto of the Demon Clan, she is really strong. Li Zi shook his painful arm, feeling awe-inspiring. He could feel that the opponent's strength was at least stronger than the previous Mephisto. Boy. Do you have any last words? Tell them as soon as possible, don't wait until you die and still be reconciled. At this time, the Mephisto spoke with a cold and heartless tone. HMPH, you should worry about yourself. Li Zi snorted coldly, and then activated the majestic energy again, restored the arm to its original shape, and then stepped out to the side of the Mephisto. He exuded a strong terrifying aura, like a bright fixed star, making the world pale. Boy. It seems that you really don't want to confess your last words. If that's the case, then I'll send you on your way. Mephisto said coldly, then slapped out a palm, pressing down on Li Zi. Seeing this, Li Zi kicked his legs on the ground, and he jumped up violently, dodging the blow. Mephisto clapped again, fast and hard. Li Zi couldn't dodge in time, his body was hit directly, and he flew upside down again. This time, he felt pain in his chest. The strength is really strong. Li Zi looked solemn, stood up, looked at the Mephisto in front of him, his heart was full of seriousness, and found that the two witches and Stephen had already fought with the previous Mephisto. His eyes fell on the new Mephisto in front of him again. This time he didn't dare to neglect too much, but condensed the sword of Emperor Weishan. The momentum before changed with the trend, and the difference between the two was very obvious. Little. Do you know how strong I am now? I advise you to confess your last words obediently, otherwise, I will let you have a taste of despair later. Mephisto said with a sneer, her voice was rippling like Hong Zhang Da Lu. The results haven't come out yet, your thinking is too naive. Li Zi said very seriously. Although this Mephisto is powerful, its own strength is not weak. If all the strength explodes, it will be even higher than this Mephisto, so I don't have to be afraid of the opponent at all. Stubborn human beings. Then I will kindly send you to heaven. Mephisto snorted coldly, then shot again. Seeing this, Li Zi went forward without any hesitation. Boom. 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 The two fought fiercely in this world. A series of destructive vigor splashed, the earth continued to collapse, trees were broken, mountains were flattened, and the entire land fell into chaos, with dust flying and smoke filling the air. The aftermath of the battle between the two destroyed the surrounding mountains in pieces, and a piece of scorched earth spread all over the land, with ravines and potholes everywhere. The two continued to fight each other, and each blow was enough to destroy a large mountain and a large lake. I've said it before, my strength is beyond your prediction. During the battle, Mephisto didn't feel any pressure at all. On the contrary, he looked relaxed, and his speed became faster and faster. In the next second, he directly broke through the sound barrier. The two fought fiercely in this world. A series of destructive vigor splashed, the earth continued to collapse, trees were broken, mountains were flattened, and the entire land fell into chaos, with dust flying and smoke filling the air. The aftermath of the battle between the two destroyed the surrounding mountains in pieces, and a piece of scorched earth spread all over the land, with ravines and potholes everywhere. The two continued to fight each other, and each blow was enough to destroy a large mountain and a large lake. I've said it before, my strength is beyond your prediction. During the battle, Mephisto didn't feel any pressure at all, on the contrary, he looked relaxed, and the speed became faster and faster, and in the next second, he directly broke the sound barrier. Bang. Li Zi's fist slammed into Mephisto's body, sending him flying and hitting the mountain heavily. The rocks collapsed, the ground cracked, and the smoke and dust billowed up. After the smoke and dust, the two figures rushed towards each other again, and the battle continued. For a moment, in the entire space, only the whistling of the fist wind could be heard, the mighty momentum, and the violent air current raging, making everyone feel suffocated. The strength of the two is too strong. Every move and style of theirs is enough to destroy the world. This diffuse terrorist explosion is already enough to affect the scope of space. I said, although you were very strong, you are still inferior to me. After finishing speaking, Mephisto's eyes burst into madness, and immediately, his figure swelled suddenly, becoming taller, and his muscles were hot like magma. Boom. An extremely powerful energy erupted from him, as if a nuclear bomb had exploded, shattering the void, and swept towards Li Zi. Li Zi raised his brows and stepped back suddenly. At the same time, he clenched his right hand and punched out. Boom. This punch seemed to have penetrated the long river of time, and appeared in front of Mephisto in an instant. Pissed. After finishing speaking, Mephisto's eyes burst into madness, and immediately, his figure swelled suddenly, becoming taller, and his muscles were like magma, hot and blazing. Boom. An extremely powerful energy erupted from him, as if a nuclear bomb had exploded, shattering the void, and swept towards Li Zi. Li Zi raised his brows and stepped back suddenly. At the same time, he clenched his right hand and punched out. Boom. This punch seemed to have penetrated the long river of time, and appeared in front of Mephisto in an instant. Pissed. At this moment, Mephisto only felt a huge amount of anti-shock force coming, and his entire arm was almost numb from the shock. However, the other party didn't feel well, and blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth. I didn't expect you to be able to injure me. No wonder you can make me feel threatened. But, you alone are worthy of fighting me, Mephisto sneered ferociously. Really? Then try another trick from me. Li Zi narrowed his eyes slightly, and sprinted forward. I fear you? With a roar, Mephisto greeted Li Zi. Bang bang bang. The two of them fought at a speed as fast as thunder, fists and feet intersected, and every time they collided, there would be bursts of earth-shattering roars. One is the supreme demon race, and the other is the existence of the demon magician. When the two fought against each other, the terrifying fluctuations produced were simply frightening. Boom. The speed of the two became faster and faster, fists and feet collided, intertwined like lightning. All around, the floorboards were all shattered, turning into fragments and splashing, and countless smoke and dust stirred up everywhere. Li Zi's offensive is fierce and fierce, like a peerless god of war, killing decisively, but Mephisto's strength is indeed extraordinary. Every time he resists Li Zi's offensive, he can give Li Zi a hit and retreat. Drops of sweat flowed down the cheeks on both sides naturally. Die. Suddenly, Mephisto let out an angry roar, exuding terrifying devilish energy from his whole body, and a destructive wave spread from his body. Li Zi's pupils contracted violently, and he could already see that Mephisto was about to go all out. Do you think you can win this way? Li Zi snorted coldly, and there was also an earth-shattering wave emanating from his body. Let's try this. Li Zi's body suddenly stopped and spun, incomparably weird, leaving 10 trapped afterimages on the spot. In the next second, a palm slapped Mephisto's chest with endless sharpness. Click. A crisp sound of bone cracking sounded, followed by Mephisto's miserable scream, and a terrifying trace of deep bones appeared on his chest, a section of white rib exposed to the air, and even the internal organs could be vaguely seen. This was astonishingly shattered the internal organs by Li Zi's palm. This palm almost pierced Mephisto's body and turned him into a hornet's nest. Damn, how is it possible? Your strength is obviously far inferior to mine. Mephisto stared at Li Zi with wide eyes in disbelief. He couldn't believe that he would lose so completely. How could this guy be so powerful? Mephisto, your time of death has come. Li Zi smiled indifferently, without any hesitation, and waved his fist to smash it. This punch carried unparalleled terrifying power. Mephisto quickly raised her hand to resist. Boom. With a loud noise, Li Zi's fist landed on Mephisto's arm, and in an instant, a terrifying gust of wind swept around. Click. Mephisto's arm was directly broken, and the bones were cracked and shattered into powder. The whole body flew upside down, hit the wall, and fell to the ground. Puff. Mephisto spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face was covered with pain. He was seriously injured in the punch just now, and his internal organs were severely damaged. Fighting power. It seems that I have underestimated you, ahem. Although he couldn't believe it, the arrogance in his bones still didn't dissipate. This is your arrogance's play. Li Zi's expression was indifferent, and there was no emotion in his eyes. Whoosh. Proposal. As soon as the voice fell, I saw that Mephisto's body suddenly disappeared. Huh? Escaped? Li Zi's eyes flickered with doubt. Call. At this moment, suddenly, Li Zi felt a slight wind blowing beside him, and a ray of black magic energy suddenly condensed, appeared on his left side, and blasted towards him. This scene was as fast as a thunderbolt, very abrupt. This is a man, covered in a black robe, only revealing a pair of eyes, full of ice coldness. Just looking at it can make the whole air feel like falling into an abyss. Li Zi felt it too, with a low and hoarse voice. Who are you? The new Mephisto again. You don't meddle in the affairs of the angel family. I won't make things difficult for you this time. With that said, he came directly to Mephisto and threw him into the black hole that gathered behind him. At this moment, suddenly, Li Zi felt a slight wind blowing beside him. An array of black magic energy suddenly condensed, appeared on his left side, and blasted towards him. This scene was as fast as a thunderbolt, very abrupt. This is a man, covered in a black robe, only revealing a pair of eyes, full of ice coldness. Just looking at it can make the whole air feel like falling into an abyss. Li Zi felt it too, with a low and hoarse voice. Who are you? The new Mephisto again. You don't meddle in the affairs of the angel family. I won't make things difficult for you this time. With that said, he came directly to Mephisto and threw him into the black hole that gathered behind him. Then I have to thank you. Li Zi smiled coldly. I hate when people threaten me. As soon as the words fell, Li Zi raised his head suddenly, kicked his right foot, and his body shot up like a cannonball. When he swung his fist, with a whistling wind, he slammed into the face of the person in front of him. The other party smiled contemptuously, and shot decisively in the same way. Next moment. Boom. The moment the two collided, Li Zi's expression was moved. His body was blown away several meters before he managed to stabilize his figure. He was shocked in his heart. What a terrifying power, it's times stronger than the two Mephistos I met before. Huh. The man's eyes flashed. Apparently he didn't expect Li Zi to be able to block his attack, but he didn't stay here for half a second and launched another attack. Swish. He stretched out his palm, and amidst the black mist, it turned into a pitch-black spear, unparalleled in sharpness, stabbing at Li Zi with destructive waves. Damn it. Li Zi cursed secretly. Instead of retreating, he rushed towards the spear, and his figure exploded in an instant, turning into flesh and blood. No. The man's expression moved slightly. His speed was too fast. Even with his strength, he couldn't capture Li Zi's real body. No, it's an illusion. The next moment, 4 afterimages appeared out of thin air in front of Mephisto, and each afterimage exuded an astonishing aura. Bang bang bang. The man hurriedly mobilized his strength to protect his surroundings, but he was still knocked back a step. Pissed. There were layers of broken marks on the whole body, and his face was slightly solemn. What a powerful illusion. You only know now, it's too late. Li Zi has no extra nonsense. The current situation has reached the hottest stage. If you let the opponent leave, you will only make yourself even more unable to compete. Dealing with two Mephistos is already a bit difficult. Even if he has dark magic in his body, he can't beat 4 punches with 2 hands. Unless he gains more powerful power, he may not be able to deal with the opponent easily. Then, the whole person turned into a fiery streamer and rushed towards that person. This person also thought for a moment, and decided not to entangle with the other party any longer. The strength displayed by this guy in front of him really exceeded his expectations. Even if he himself is under the opponent's shot, he can't take advantage of it. Thinking of this, he immediately took the first Mephisto who was fighting, drew a void and left here. Li Zi wanted to keep chasing, but the speed of the opponent was too fast, and he couldn't catch up at all, so Yinshin had to give up. It seems that I have to go there next time. Li Zi watched them leave. His complexion became much more serious. In this battle tonight, too many unpredictable things happened. Let alone 2 Mephistos, there is a mysterious person stronger than the 2 Mephistos. Li, why don't you continue chasing him? At this time, Steven and others rushed over, and they were not much better. Because the fight just now was already their best effort, but even so, they still didn't want to let the other party go. So, seeing Li Zi stop now, I couldn't help asking immediately. Don't chase after him. That guy's strength is too terrifying. We don't even know the depth of each other. Li Zi sighed and briefly recounted what happened just now. After listening, several people fell silent. Then what should we do now? Do we want to kill them directly? After a while, Steven spoke slowly. Not at the moment, I have other things to do. Li Zi shook his head. I will go with you when I find a better time. Steven nodded, and then changed the subject. I think we must find some helpers here, and we can't delay any longer. Otherwise, I'm worried that there will be danger. Li Zi nodded in agreement. After all, the arrival of these Mephistos has posed a certain threat to the main universe. Others naturally have no objections. After all, it was obvious from the previous battle that the strength of those 3 mysterious people was terrifying. Even if they go together, they may not necessarily be opponents of each other. The only good thing is that there are not so many of these mysterious people, otherwise they may not be able to bear a few more. In this case, you should go back first. Li Zi made a quick decision. Then, he looked at Steven again. Go back first this time. When I have time, I will go to find you, and then I will start the business star. Li Zi spoke slowly. Okay, I'm fine. Steven nodded. After all, it is still somewhat difficult to completely defeat the opponent with their strength. There is also the Angel tribe. I'm afraid they will attack again. Li Zi said again. Wait until you have time. Steven waved his hand, didn't say much, drew out the dimension portal, and left directly. As night fell, the entire sky became completely dark, and you couldn't see your fingers. There are dilapidated appearances everywhere, the ground collapsed violently, without a trace of integrity. It was almost a devastating blow. Li. How to deal with it here? Wanda looked at the extent of damage to this place, almost no less than a world war, dust and smoke everywhere, trees shattered into debris, and even the rivers were destroyed by the previous energy. There is no other way. Right now we can only deal with the person who called Shield. Li Zi shook his head. After all, this kind of thing is very interesting to those guys. Alright, then let's go. The Dark Witch looked at the broken appearance below, and couldn't bear to look directly. Good. Li Zi and others nodded, and then did not stay here any longer, and did not return to the hotel. Because tomorrow is the 7th day, if you don't go back, the mission will be considered a failure. This is also the reason why Li Zi said that to Steven just now. There will be opportunities in the future, and everyone is not in a particularly good state, so we can only delay things. In the early morning of the next day, the fish belly white rose slowly from the sky, and the reflected sunlight was like falling petals, bringing the beautiful scenery of the entire Zijing town into view, as if it was like a landscape painting. There is no slapstick in the slightest, only those quiet and peaceful. It feels so good to be back in Westview. Li Zi got up slowly from the bed, went outside the balcony, and gently pulled the curtains on both sides to the side, and the reflected sun shone in instantly. However, regarding the matter of Mephisto, it will definitely need to be dealt with later. It has already passed through the multi-universe and arrived here. Li Zi thought again, his voice low and hoarse. Although Mephisto alone is not too strong, but once the opponent joins forces, it is still somewhat difficult for me to face them. Li. Why are you up? I'll make you breakfast. At this time, Wanda's lazy voice came from behind, and it was obvious that she was still a little fuzzy at this moment. Let me do it, you can sleep more. Li Zi smiled and walked straight into the kitchen after speaking. Soon, Li Zi got the food out, and a scent that permeated the whole room spread throughout the room, as if it was a special scent. Not only Wanda, but even the sleeping Dark Witch couldn't bear the smell of the aroma, and immediately got up and went to the kitchen. What are you doing out there? The witch noticed someone behind her, frowned slightly when she saw the Dark Witch, and couldn't help asking. Will the breakfast be so delicious this time? It was able to attract the opponent out. Can I come out and get some air? The Dark Witch gave her a blank look, ignored her at all, and turned her gaze to the kitchen. Inside, Li Zi was making breakfast very seriously, as if she was a very caring existence. This scene is very sweet. Who knows you? Wanda said the same thing, but ignored her. Li Zi made all the breakfast directly, and served it on the table in trays. Stop making noise, come and have breakfast. I made a few more eggs today, it should be very good. Li Zi handed over the divided eggs. After all, these eggs contain very high protein, and they are of great value to the human body. The egg looks so weird. The Dark Witch frowned and couldn't help expressing doubts. Before Li Zi could say anything more, the witch at the side asked, an egg is an egg, what's so strange? After finishing speaking, she stretched out her hand and asked for 2 eggs. Just about to eat, she was completely angered by the next sentence of the Dark Witch. How do you think these 2 eggs taste compared to Li's? The Dark Witch's casual words, the witch also immediately reacted, and said angrily, why'd I find that you can't do without these every time you eat? And most importantly, can these eggs be compared with G's? Etc. No, why was I brought in too? It's all due to this horrible woman. You're just saying one more thing, so you don't want to eat it. The witch also became stronger immediately, and immediately snatched the eggs on the table. Regarding this, the Dark Witch smiled charmingly, and didn't care at all, but continued, eat as much as you want, I won't compete with you. It seems that this time she is the ultimate winner. Snort. The witch didn't continue to pay attention to her, but buried her head in eating. Li Zi smiled as he watched their fight, then picked up a piece of meat with chopsticks and put it in his mouth. Li, the dishes you cook are so delicious, they are like works of art. When the witch tasted the food in her mouth, she suddenly cried out in surprise. Because, she couldn't find any words to describe this dish. It was so delicious. Even the dishes cooked by Michelin 3-star masters may not be as good as 1% of them. As long as you like it. A faint smile appeared on the corner of Li Zi's mouth. He could clearly feel that the relationship between the three of them was becoming more subtle, not in that situation, but more like a family. As expected of Lee, Wanda at the moment also finished her breakfast, patting her belly in satisfaction. The feeling of thinking about Giotti will never be forgotten. What are you thinking about? You're distracted by eating. The witch suddenly moved close to Li Zi's ear, exhaling like blue, with bursts of fragrance, as if she was curious. No, Li Zi shook his head and denied it. How about we finish our meal and go out for a walk? The dark witch laughed. After all, I need to relax when I come back here. The dark witch looked at the scenery outside and murmured. Li Zi was stunned when he heard this. Going out? Yes, the scenery outside is quite beautiful. The dark witch changed the subject again, pointing to the sky outside, and the weather at this time is not very good. Li Zi was startled when he heard these words, and then raised his head to look outside. He did feel that the weather at this time was very good. Li, what's wrong with you? The witch on the side noticed the change in his face. Oh. Nothing. Li Zi shook his head, and the thoughts in his mind left Anne behind. He looked at the dark witch in front of him, and said, in that case, let's go out together later. Where are you going? I propose to go to the playground. I didn't play enough last time. Wanda took the initiative to speak. I'm okay. The dark witch also nodded, and naturally she had no objection to the playground the other party mentioned. After eating briefly and quickly packing up the things in the house, the three of them set off immediately. After all, that place was the one they wanted to go to. The playground is not too far from Zijing Town, and the three of them arrived quickly and smoothly. After arriving at the playground, they immediately bought tickets, and they couldn't wait to go in and experience it for real. There are not many such opportunities, and besides, there are still a few months. When the mysterious person arrives, they will not have extra time to play. Just play, I'll just watch, I don't have much interest in these. Li Zi touched the witch's head. The latter also directly took the hand of the dark witch, and walked towards the equipment inside like a real little sister. Li Zi found a more suitable place nearby and sat down. Originally, he planned to spend the few days in Zijing Town this time, and make good use of the time to let the witches practice the dark divine book, and most importantly, he also wanted to get out the magic of creation. But now it seems that there is something wrong with the time pressure. He looked at the dark witch in front of him, and said, in that case, let's go out together later. Where are you going? I propose to go to the playground. I didn't play enough last time. Wanda took the initiative to speak. I'm okay. The dark witch also nodded, and naturally she had no objection to the playground the other party mentioned. After eating briefly and quickly packing up the things in the house, the three of them set off immediately. After all, that place was the one they wanted to go to. The playground is not too far from Zijing Town, and the three of them arrived quickly and smoothly. After arriving at the playground, they immediately bought tickets, and they couldn't wait to go in and experience it for real. There are not many such opportunities, and besides, there are still a few months. When the mysterious person arrives, they will not have extra time to visit. Just play, I'll just watch, I'm not very interested in these. Li Zi touched the witch's head. The latter also directly took the hand of the dark witch, and walked towards the equipment inside like a real little sister. Li Zi found a more suitable place nearby and sat down. Originally, he planned to spend the few days in Zijing Town this time, and make good use of the time to let the witches practice the dark divine book, and most importantly, he also wanted to get out the magic of creation. But now it seems that there is something wrong with the time. Time passed little by little. At this time, the sunset also came, and other people in the playground began to gradually become rare. It's almost just two witches experiencing joy. Seeing that the time was almost up, Li Zi directly called the two of them over. It's almost time, we should go back. The task of cultivating the dark god book is very important. Li Zi's tone was extremely serious, without any hint of joking. The two witches nodded emphatically after listening. They naturally understood what the other said, otherwise they wouldn't have come directly. After tidying up, today's entertainment ends here. Return to Westview. The dark witch also understood the importance of the matter, and immediately began to teach Wanda, and asked her to study the dark god book. After all, the delay before was too long. There is no way to do this. If you don't study for a short time, it's okay. But if you don't study for a long time, you will not get a level of proficiency in all aspects. In that case, it is almost the same as not studying. It is also because of this that they have to learn quickly now to raise their chaos force to the strongest level. And Li Zi was not idle either. As before, he went back to the study alone and arranged the magic. The surrounding black mist enveloped all of these. Even if the two witches want to forcefully break open, they will find it very difficult. After doing all this, Li Zi summoned the prototype of the previous Dragon Ball, which is an unfinished part. However, compared to the beginning, both the effect and the vision are slightly better. Open. Li Zi let out a low cry, and then made a seal with both hands, and complex black energy emerged on the surface of his body. This black aura is part of the black aura he obtained from the Dragon Ball. It can be said to be a part of the black aura array. However, although there is this part of assistance, if he wants to fully activate it, he still needs to spend a greater price. Because of the existence of the Dragon Ball, Li Zi could also clearly feel that it was a very powerful magic core, and the energy contained in this magic core was far beyond his estimation. Not only that, but the huge devilish energy can even affect the surrounding space. If it weren't for Li Zi's strong will, he might have been affected long ago, and even suffered a little damage. Although he was assisted by the magic array this time, he still felt very strenuous. But he didn't dare to stop, he could only continue, otherwise, he would only sink deeper and deeper. Open it for me. With a shout, Li Zi finally pushed out all the black aura formations. Afterwards, he sealed again, and complex runes appeared in his hands, and then quickly condensed and formed on the magic circle. With a slight tremor, the entire magic circle seemed to be stimulated and began to spin crazily. It felt as if it was about to be torn apart. Damn it. Li Zi continued to roar, his body was already covered with sweat, and he looked very embarrassed, but he didn't have the slightest intention of giving up, because as long as he gave up this part of the black aura formation, then all the hard work has gone in vain. So at this time, he must hold on, without any mistakes. Bang. Suddenly, a huge amount of light erupted from the magic circle, and then, a pitch-black crack appeared, which meant that the magic circle was completely destroyed. Seeing this, Li Zi also heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, he finally succeeded, but he was not happy because the road ahead was still far away. However, he was not discouraged, and continued to condense this part of the black aura formation. Moreover, at this moment, he felt that his soul power seemed to be growing, and this feeling made him very comfortable. Moreover, he also knew that this should be the legendary magic power. That is to say, although the power of the magic array is small, it contains magic power. As long as he can perfect it, then he can make the magic array stronger and stronger. Buzz buzz. Constantly condensed, finally, with his unremitting efforts, this powerful black aura formation was finally condensed by him successfully. These black aura formations are suspended in midair, exuding a thick black mist. Li Zi took a deep breath, then stretched out his hands and grabbed the black aura array. Clatter. The black mist rolled and poured into his body continuously. Li Zi feels that his soul power is getting stronger constantly. Is this the power of the black aura array? But it is still a bit difficult to create more powerful magic. Call. Li Zi let out a long breath with a complicated look on his face. Dragon Ball. Li Zi's eyes fell on the Dragon Ball on the side. This time, he did not use the Dragon Ball again, because the energy contained in the Dragon Ball is very terrifying. If he uses it forcibly, it may cause him a burden. The most important thing for him now is to raise the black aura array to the limit, and then refine it to completely improve his soul power. Do whatever comes to mind. Li Zi continued to condense the black aura array. He is not impatient, because he knows that his ability has not yet reached the level of being able to control everything, so he must take his time. Dragon Ball. Li Zi's eyes fell on the Dragon Ball on the side. This time, he did not use the Dragon Ball again, because the energy contained in the Dragon Ball is very terrifying. If he uses it forcibly, it may cause him a burden. The most important thing for him now is to raise the black aura array to the limit, and then refine it to completely improve his soul power. Do whatever comes to mind. Li Zi continued to condense the black aura array. He is not impatient, because he knows that his ability has not yet reached the level of being able to control everything, so he must take his time. The black aura radiated from between his brows, constantly blending into the black aura formation. More than an hour passed. Is it finally done? Li Zi let out a long breath. These days, he has tried to condense the black aura formation more than once, but he has not succeeded once. He knows that only when his strength reaches a certain level can he fully grasp everything. Now, he has finally condensed the black aura formation, although it is only a little bit, but it is enough. He looked at his palm. At this moment, the palm was already wrapped in jet black aura, and even the fingernails were swallowed in it. This situation made him frown slightly. His eyes looked at the world beyond the palm of his hand. At this moment, his body was filled with thick black mist, and his eyes became blood red. Looking at the Dragon Ball on the ground, Li Zi fell into deep thought. Because he tried several times before, but he didn't succeed. Therefore, he is going to change his method and use the black aura array to invade his consciousness into the Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is a magical treasure with infinite mysteries. The corner of Li Zi's mouth drew an arc, then he stretched out his right hand and grabbed the Dragon Ball. Rumble. The moment Li Zi approached the Dragon Balls, all the Dragon Balls vibrated unexpectedly. Afterwards, the entire space seemed to be trembling violently, and then, a destructive aura erupted. The strength of this aura simply exceeded Li Zi's expectations, making him feel as if he was in a huge amounts of vortex, and might be torn into pieces at any time. What's going on? Li Zi's complexion changed slightly. He stared fixedly at the Dragon Ball in front of him. Originally, he thought that the Dragon Ball should not harm him, but the current situation is obviously very different from what he imagined. Buzz. The Dragon Ball shook violently, endless dark clouds gathered, thunder flashed, and an incomparably suppressed aura was released from the Dragon Ball. Could it be that something unpredictable happened? There is no way, he can only stop this kind of magic at the moment. Otherwise, once some kind of energy fluctuation occurs, even these protective energies will not be able to resist it. So in order to ensure the safety of everything, he still did not continue. And time passed little by little, and a few hours gradually passed. And in the next time, in addition to creating magic, the two witches are also learning from each other the Dark God Book. Soon, half a month passed, and during this time, something happened. For example, under the control of the T-1000, those gangster sites in Jinban have almost occupied 2/3, and I believe that they will continue to invade its interior in a short time. The most important thing is that after the invasion, the profits generated by those gangster sites are like a huge product chain, and the money they get is as much as 100%. But at this moment, there was a knock on the door. When he came to the door, he found that it was Stephen again. What are you doing here? Li Zi was a little confused. There is a problem with the Angel family, please ask for our support. Stephen didn't talk nonsense, but said straight to the point. Then hurry over. Li Zi didn't think too much, but immediately thought of the demon clan, and the Mephisto and demons behind him. What are you waiting for, let's go. Wanda also urged immediately. The few people didn't waste time. After all, the impact of that incident was very great. If they couldn't be handled properly, unpredictable things might happen later. Definitely. For Li Zi, the reason why he went there was because the other party came to him directly half a month ago. What's the matter with you, you look a bit uncomfortable. Stephen couldn't help being curious, so he asked aloud. Half a month ago, Mephisto from the demon race came to me. There are two in total. One of them is a mysterious person, but I don't know if it is Mephisto, but I believe that person should be stronger than Mephisto. When Li Zi said this, his eyes were full of seriousness. He is very clear. The strength of that person is absolutely beyond one's imagination. And the most important point is that the other party is Mephisto from the demon race. In this way, even if the other party is really Mephisto, it must be in existence similar to him. How did you offend the other party? Stephen couldn't help frowning. Because I want to kill several Mephistos of the other party, so I angered the other party. Li Zi spread his hands helplessly. This matter is indeed quite complicated. The three of them were going to New York for fun at the time, but they met those Mephistos in the heartland. At that time, in order not to affect the center of New York, he still attracted the past directly to the suburbs. Otherwise, relying on the powerful energy generated by both sides, it would be enough to destroy everything. That's the way it is, but since that person has already come to you once, why didn't he tell us about it? Because I'm afraid of hurting you, besides, this matter is originally my own business, there is no need to involve other people. Li Zi shook his head and explained. After listening to this explanation, Stephen was filled with emotions. He didn't expect the other party's thoughts to be on this point. To be honest, he thanked the other party from the bottom of his heart. However, for them, the most important thing now is to leave here as soon as possible, and immediately go to the Angel clan for reinforcements. Soon after, they just broke the dimensional space, because they left traces last time, and the other party informed them of the exact route. They successfully arrived at the realm of God. But he turned his gaze to the past, and found that the flames of war were already raging in front of him, and the peace before was no longer there, as if these had suffered major destruction. Let's go over and have a look, those demons must be the first to attack. There was a flash of anger in Li Zi's eyes. It was fine for him to come to make trouble for him, but he made a comeback again in such a short period of time. It is conceivable how many huge conspiracies the other party has hidden. The other side. Within the Angel family. Almost all the angels went out to resist. At this moment, no one is a coward. Even if the opponent is powerful, they must not let all those demons invade, otherwise, once the protective cover is broken, the homeland behind them will be shattered like destruction. Such a situation is absolutely intolerable to them. What to do? Old Patriarch, the angel who resisted in front is almost unable to hold on. An angel immediately came in front of the old Patriarch, knelt down on one knee. His tone was extremely anxious, and he was no longer calm as before. Not only him, but even the old patriarch, he never expected that the opponent's attack would come so fast. Haven't Stephen come here yet? Before that, he had used some conditions to ask the other party to come for reinforcements, but as the current situation became more and more tense, if they could not be stopped in time, their angel clan would be mercilessly killed by the other party. The apprehension and uneasiness in my heart also began to become tense with this mood. Bang! Not far away, the flames of war intensified, and there were dilapidated appearances everywhere, without a trace of completeness. Next second. All the passionate movements in the world fell silent at this moment, and a feeling of coldness and indifference instantly filled all corners. Everyone who was still in a disturbed mood just now felt that cold feeling again at this moment. As if the last second was still a raging fire, the air that burned people's hearts and minds was churning, and instantly turned into a world of ice and snow, the ice cold to the bone, and the flesh and blood turned into ice cold. Round after round of terror to the point of almost solidified oppression, crazily churned in the air. Instantly, invisible power and aura spread out from it. Like an endless turbulent stormy sea, it enveloped everything. Different from the berserk power before, the aura emitted by the other party at the moment of releasing energy is not so ferocious. Instead, it gives people a feeling of complete silence. It was a kind of absolute indifference, full of endless chill. Moment. In the entire space, everything is covered by this boundless indifference and destruction. The calm sense of destruction and the unstoppable feeling of crushing spread quickly like thick ink dripping into clear water. It brought trembling from the depths of the soul to everyone present. Old Patriarch, what should we do now? The angel next to him couldn't control the trembling caused by that breath anymore, so he had to ask the other party quickly. The old patriarch has some hesitation. In the next second, he gritted his teeth and prepared to give the order to fight to the death. Also at this time, a more powerful energy appeared in the whole surrounding, as if the world fell into a cold place. It's Lee and Stephen. At this time, the old patriarch's eyes flashed brightly and said, "What on earth is it?" Lee Z came in front of the other party and couldn't help frowning. Afterwards, the old patriarch didn't hide the slightest thing, but told the other party about the whole process. After listening to what the old patriarch said, Lee Z finally understood the reason. "So, you guys save us." The old patriarch immediately knelt down, not a bit superior. Some just wanted to protect the entire homeland and the lifeline of the Angel clan. Before he actually knelt down, Lee Z lifted him up with black aura. "Thank you when things are over." Leaving a word, he turned into a ball of black aura and rushed towards the battlefield. The same is true for Stephen and the two witches behind him. When the old patriarch saw this scene, tears inadvertently flowed from the corners of his eyes. At the same time, Bliss and the others have been struggling to resist those demons, and their bodies are covered in blood, as if they were a blood man, and the evil spirit that emanates unconsciously from their bodies is somewhat different. It makes people feel extremely trembling. "Bliss, here we come." At this time, just as he was continuing to attack, he heard a familiar voice, and suddenly found Lee Z, Stephen and others rushing behind him. He directly gave the other party a very grateful look. Because now is not the time for small talk. Soon, the two sides fought fiercely again. And at this time, in the distance, a demon holding a long sword, with a hideous face. Big, dark and rough skin. If you ignore that ugly face, just looking at the physique can make women feel scared. But alas, no one noticed it. Its strength is too strong, it has surpassed the limit of human beings, and has even reached its peak. If you stomp your feet casually, the whole city will shake 3 times, let alone control a group of demon legions. It is invincible, and nothing can stop it can hold the pace of its progress. However, even such a ferocious and tyrannical existence has a fatal weakness. "Angels, go to hell," the demon growled angrily. It originally thought that it could crush human beings with its own strength and win easily. "Go to hell, you humble ant," it roared, waving its sharp claws to kill the nearest Bliss. This is its goal. It wants to kill the opponent with its own hands, so as to wash away its shame. Pissed. The sharp long sword pierced Bliss' chest fiercely. Ah! Amidst the painful screams, bright red blood flowed. Breeze fell to the ground, panting heavily. Only then did he finally understand how much of a gap there was between himself and the real devil. In comparison, although the opponent does not know how many years he has lived, his strength still remains at the initial state. But even so, it still has unmatched strength. And the opponent's speed is extremely fast, he can't dodge at all. Damn bastard. He cursed. He was unwilling to die, but there was nothing he could do. Boom. Suddenly, just when he thought he was going to die. Suddenly a shocking thunder resounded from beyond the sky. Immediately afterwards, an incomparably bright light shone across the sky, illuminating the entire world. A majestic majesty descended on this land, as if the sky was falling apart. Everyone present became extremely shocked and suffocated for a while. Their pupils contracted, as if they had encountered something extremely terrifying. What kind of power is this? They are totally indescribable. This is a terrifying coercion. What's going on? How can there be divine power coming here? The demon leader shrank his pupils and suddenly looked in a certain direction. Because that breath is really terrifying, as if the entire sky cannot bear this powerful energy zone. And also at this time, Li Zi's figure slowly appeared. There was no thunder and lightning around him, but he could feel the terrifying oppression of life and death from him. You guys are really damned. Li Zi's indifferent voice fell on the demon's ears, like thunder rolling, and the powerful oppression made them a little breathless. Who are you? The demon leader squinted his eyes slightly, his huge body stared straight at the opponent's thin body, his eyes were both surprised and dignified. Could it be that he is the strongest of the angel family? You devil bugs don't deserve to know, all you need to know is that I will wipe you all out. Li Zi's eyes became colder and colder. HMPH, your strength is not strong, but your tone is not small, come on, let me see how capable you really are. The demon leader ignored him, but rushed forward immediately. The demons behind them also started to act. The angels didn't show any timidity at all, and rushed forward, hoping to kill all these demons. The flames of war are imminent. Boom. Li Zi turned his hands into fists and attacked the demon leader in front of him. The speed is so fast that it is almost impossible to catch his shadow. The demon leader's heart trembled suddenly, but he reacted quickly, and quickly waved his fist and smashed the doctor towards Li Zi. Two huge amounts of fists clashed together. A gust of strong wind visible to the naked eye exploded from the fists of the two people and spread to the surroundings. There was a strong smell of blood in the air. Both of them took half a step back, and Li Zi's face became even more gloomy. This demon leader really has two brushes. The move just now was already a blow with 8% of his strength, but it was blocked by the opponent, which proved that this demon leader was much more powerful than other demons. Li Zi took a deep breath and rushed towards the opponent again. The war between the two intensified, and the demons dodged one after another, for fear of being affected. The angels fought with other demons, and the battle became more and more fierce. Whoosh! Li Zi suddenly accelerated his forward speed, and went straight to bombard the demon leader. A dazzling crimson light shone even more on his body. This moment. Wherever Li Zi passed by, the trajectory brought up changed from silver to red. There was also a billowing heat wave that could melt everything, radiating from his body. Instantly. The temperature of the sky and the earth is twice as hot as that of the hottest summer. Even the endless seawater is boiling. Boom boom boom. Li Zi bombarded towards the demon leader at such a terrifying speed, like a meteor that could destroy everything, crashing down. However, boom. Li Zi's eyes suddenly burst into a dazzling crimson light. Two raging and violent crimson light beams blasted through the air and burst out. Severely bombarded the demon leader rushing towards him. Boom. Amidst the explosion that shook the world, the menacing Silver Surfer was directly blasted into pieces and scattered in all directions. All the turbulent momentum disappeared at this moment. The world fell into silence for an instant, without him. You really are damned. The demon leader roared angrily, raised his body, raised his finger, and slammed at the opponent fiercely. Boom boom boom. Surrounded by turbulent and majestic, violent and boundless terrifying air pressure, it bombarded the ground fiercely. On the ground, everything began to tremble crazily, landslides and tsunamis, the color of the sky and the earth changed, and a thick dust curtain rose from the sky. Under the boundless pressure that surged down, he was directly bombarded into pieces. With this blow, the entire space is shattering, the sky is shattering, and everything on the ground is shaking. Boom. It's like the end of the world is coming. But at this moment, it seemed that only two people were left standing in this space. The demon leader's eyes were blood red, and he stared at him with murderous intent. You are really the biggest threat to our demon clan. I must kill you here today. The opponent was just a human being, but he didn't expect to be able to block his own attack and counterattack back. This is unbelievable. At this moment, he had no choice but to rush towards the opponent again, without any hesitation, and even the entire sound barrier was stirred up by this powerful energy. You think you can kill me? Li Zi smiled suddenly. All of you are self-righteous, useless trash. With such strength you dare to invade the angel clan. I have to say, your brain is really stupid. He found that the strength of these demons was actually not very strong in the real sense. Even the Mephistos who came to stop him last time were also dealt with directly by him in the same way. It can be said. Except for the appearance of the last person, almost no one is his opponent. After saying this, Li Zi transformed into an extremely powerful sword of Emperor Weishan, and slashed down on the demon leader rushing in front of him. Bang bang bang. That invincible momentum, like a sword opening the gate of heaven, seemed to easily cut everything to nothing in an instant. The remaining prestige that spread out caused the nearby mountains to shatter with a bang, without any integrity at all. Boom. The huge sword light cast by Li Zi has penetrated the entire ground. The vast sword energy that almost covered the entire sky generated endless high temperature when it rubbed against the air fiercely, and huge amounts of tumbling flames emerged from the air. It was like dyeing the entire sky into an endless, boundless, red sea of high-temperature flames. It seems to destroy everything on the ground. Even the attacking demons on the ground were no exception, as if they were involved in it, they were all sucked in like iron, and they were crazily involved in it, roaring and struggling continuously, as if they couldn't control the powerful force at all. Same energy. Stop it. The demon leader roared fiercely, and endless anger burst out from his eyes. Because the opponent's blow, although it couldn't cause any real damage to him, it was different for the demons behind him. They are like tiny ants, under the endless sword energy released by the opponent, they are all involved, their bodies disintegrate quickly, and the energy directly swallows them and explodes. Even if they try to struggle hard, it has no effect. Want me to stop? Are you kidding me? Li Zi opened his mouth slowly, but there was no mercy on his face. These demons had made him want to kill. Otherwise, if the angel family wanted to ask him for help at first, he might have to hesitate a bit. But the situation is different now. His whole idea is to kill all these demons under his sword. Think here. Li Zi activated more powerful energy, endless black aura poured out from him quickly. After the previous magic upgrade, his own strength has changed very obviously. Endless and majestic energy burst out from Li Zi's body in an instant, making the whole space extremely vibrate, almost covering a radius of 100 miles. The earth was trembling violently, and the boundless sea was turbulent, as if it could no longer resist the erosion of this energy. Wave after wave of incomparably powerful energy surrounded him, as if he had absorbed all of that energy. It was an even more incomparably bright brilliance that spread out in all directions. You can try this next. Li Zi opened his mouth indifferently, as if an even more powerful energy had burst out from him. Even those attacking demons couldn't resist his strongest blow in these 10 moments. Human, you underestimate me. If I can be easily defeated by you, then I cannot be the leader of the demon clan. Don't think that you are the only one hiding your strength. After the demon leader let out a low growl, his whole body grew rapidly, and Forua was an unrivaled killing god, especially the oppression of that burst of energy, which was almost absolutely proportional to the energy emitted by the opponent. In this aspect, it is definitely not inferior to the energy that the opponent erupts. The aura on his body skyrocketed again, very terrifying, covered with black clouds, struck down by lightning, trying to crush everything here and return it to dust. Only you? Li Zi sneered, you are still too weak, not enough in my eyes. After finishing speaking, the whole person rushed towards the demon leader not far away with a dazzling stream of light, and the sword of Emperor Weishan in his hand had formed the sharpest edge, as if he could easily break the opponent with just one sword. Only you? The demon leader also didn't feel the slightest fear, and rushed over at the same speed and with the same invincible momentum. The next moment. Boom! The speed of the two sides reached the peak. Li Zi swung a devastating sword heavily, and with a clang, it landed on the opponent's arm that was stretched out to block. It seemed that it hit a metal like dull metal, but it couldn't break through easily, which made Li Zi feel extremely surprised. It seems that your expression has reflected your truest side. As if seeing the strangeness of the other party, the demon leader sneered, not taking the other party seriously at all, and grabbed Weishandi's sword. Endless beast can burst out in an all-round way. Only a click sound was heard, and Emperor Weishan's sword was instantly snapped into two halves. Li Zi's expression moved slightly, facing the opponent's full-scale burst of power. It really made him somewhat unexpected that just this one blow would break the Weishan Emperor's sword in his hand in half. But fortunately, the sword of Weishandi is just an illusion of the magic in Kamar Taj, so it can't cause too many substantive things. Even so, he still felt that the opponent's strength was increasing crazily, and if this continued, he would soon be unable to support it. Definitely, the most important point is that he can also use powerful magic, but in that case, the mission of the system will be directly exposed. Immediately after the exposure of this point, it will be judged as a mission failure at that time, and the previously hidden rewards will become a bubble. No, absolutely don't let this happen to me. Li Zi's eyes became extremely determined, as if these little difficulties in front of him could not completely affect him. Because if you give up, then the angels behind you will become history completely, and even taking a step back, the invasion of the demons may be time disordered, and the Mephisto of the demons has come to the earth to actively find him. Because of this, no matter what this time, the entire demon clan must be wiped out, otherwise Song will cause more troubles by giving the opponent a certain amount of time and development. This was a scene he didn't want to see, and besides, after a few months, they would have to face the attack of the mysterious person. If the other party joins hands with the mysterious person, they will never be able to resist it. Think here. Li Zi quickly fled in a certain direction. Want to run? Human, if you can escape from my palm today, it means you are an uncontrollable factor. The demon leader smiled, but this kind of smile was extremely cold, as if the temperature of the whole space had dropped several times. He is very clear that if the other party is not completely eliminated, then this person will be the biggest threat to their entire demon clan. Because the Mephistos sent out last time had already told him the specific situation, and it was precisely because of this that he had a very strong murderous intent towards Li Zi. It was in this situation that the two started a scene of chasing each other in the realm of the gods. Even so, the demon leader did not forget to gather a majestic energy ball behind him, and went straight to the front. Li Zi not far away bombarded and killed the past. Almost do not want to leave the slightest chance to the other party. Are you really that sure you can kill me? At this moment, Li Zi suddenly stopped and looked back at the other party. There was no trace of fear on his face. Only always calm and calm. You'll know if you try it? As soon as the voice fell, a powerful aura from the demon leader hit him head on, and instantly rolled the fallen leaves around, almost without any foreshadowing, as if a real big storm was coming, and no one could shake it. His whole body turned into an afterimage that couldn't be seen clearly, and rushed towards Li Zi in front of him. Boom. A pair of fists blasted away, and the fiery flames enveloped the whole body, almost covering many aspects, without the slightest perfunctory meaning. Those fires became more violent along the direction of the fists, like fire dragons rushing up one after another, and you could even faintly hear bursts of dragon chants, like ancient beasts, roaring and roaring non-stop, as if want to shake the world a little bit. Do you dare to use this strength? Li Zi shook his head. It can only be said that your thinking is still too naive. After finishing speaking, with a bang, he threw out an extremely terrifying sword energy in an instant, as if it penetrated the entire world, and even the space became trembling, as if it could not bear it and was about to collapse at any time. Boom. The surrounding sea was roaring crazily, tossing the river and the sea, slapping ashore non-stop. Bursts of violent waves hit in an instant, as if they were about to break through everything in the world at any time, and the overall look was incomparably terrifying. In just an instant, the two forces collided like stones. Only a bang was heard, explosions were heard everywhere, and bursts of white light shone across the entire sky, stabbing everyone unable to open their eyes for a few seconds. The battle between the two sides is still going on, and there is no tendency to stop at all, and it even becomes extremely hot with these explosions. Li Zi accelerated his speed even more, and because of this incomparably strong speed, violent waves began to set off in the air, rushing towards him, almost covering the entire radius of 100 miles. This is how strong you are as a demon leader. It's still too weak. Li Zi's whole body became excited, because although this kind of battle was not his favorite, facing such a powerful opponent provided him with great help while using his own strength. It was also because of this that he became so insane. I think you really want to die. After hearing this sentence, the demon leader rushed up with anger, as if he could no longer restrain the anger in his heart. More and more black aura gradually gathered around him, and finally formed their terrifying skulls. There was a sinister smile in the air, which made people feel extremely palpitating and uneasy. Boom. It is the next moment. The bodies of the two collided with each other again, their fists collided, and the energy that erupted instantly caused the space to tremble violently, as if they could no longer bear this terrifying coercion. While those remaining prestige spread in all directions, they formed a series of clearly visible ripples. The whole earth was trembling, the splits disintegrated rapidly, bursts of mountains burst apart instantly, and the broken stones flew into the air under the sweep of those energies, forming bursts of tornado winds, as if just a light touch, able to shatter all of itself into it. Not only the surrounding environment, but even the troops on both sides participating in the battle below were all involved in this extremely powerful energy. There was no other way, they had no choice but to shift the battlefield, and those demons who were not fully conscious, some of them were directly involved, and those bodies were also swallowed by energy, and all of them burst into pieces. There is no so-called resistance power at all, as if the Buddha is facing an impending majestic tsunami. There are terrifying power zones everywhere. Even those ordinary people here have been rolled into a pile of meat by this energy, and it is a dream to escape. You demons are really useless. If you want to show your strength, you have to involve demons. It's really sad. Li Zi said indifferently. These people are almost no different from livestock. As long as they get their own things, they don't care about the lives of others. Although this kind of situation is somewhat unavoidable during the battle, at any rate, it is his own clansmen after all. When the demon leader heard this, his eyes showed endless anger, almost as if he wanted to spurt it out. Humans, accuse us from the commanding heights, is this the thinking of your low-level creatures? The demon leader squinted his eyes and added, we are not like you. Don't you find it ridiculous to imprison other people's thinking for your own so-called thoughts? Brutally massacre the angels and want to gain the power of the other party. Is this the purity of your thoughts? Li Zi rushed over again, punching heavily, as if wanting to shatter the dilapidated cage of the whole world, taking advantage of the opportunity to blast the opponent into the mountains. The demon leader stretched out his hand to block it, but he could feel the terrifying coercion brought by that force very much. If his strength had not reached a certain level, he probably couldn't bear this punch. Gritting his teeth, the demon leader's eyes were extremely indifferent. At least we won't be like you, hypocritical, selfish, and pretending to be such bad people. In my opinion, you humans are no different from the angel race. After the words fell, he suddenly blasted out another huge punch, as fast as steel, as if this punch had surpassed time and space, and it could smash the opponent to pieces in just an instant. Where are you demons going? Li Zi's expression became even more indifferent. Compared to you, we human beings are extremely benevolent, but you would have slaughtered us long ago. Why are you pretending to be benevolent and righteous? These demons don't look too sensational, but in fact they are basically the same thing. What to do with so much nonsense? I will definitely kill you here today. As if he had hit a weak point, the demon leader let out a low growl, and an extremely violent aura erupted from his body. The entire sky had almost turned black, densely packed, like a black windbreaker on the outside. Want to kill me? Your thinking is still too naive. Li Zi also didn't choose to have too much nonsense with the other party, but rushed over with the whole person. The endless black aura turned into waves of manic energy, all wrapped around those fists, and slammed towards the opponent's face, almost without leaving any strength, as if wanting to blast the opponent into pieces with one punch. Feeling that coercion, the demon leader didn't show too much panic on his face, but was dignified instead. Because he knows very well that if he forcibly accepts this powerful force, even if he does not die, he will suffer certain trauma. Before he could think any more, Li Zi's heavy fist was already approaching, and even the aftermath emanating from the air caused bursts of heat waves in the space, as if something had collapsed all of a sudden, and it was impossible to bear it this energy. Boom. Those remaining powers spread rapidly in all directions, and cracks appeared on the ground instantly. As the cracks opened, countless gravels were all sucked into it, like a real magnet, unable to resist the influence of those forces. It is also because of this that those people on the battlefield will quickly retreat to a certain position. Otherwise, once they are eroded by this energy, it is estimated that they will all crack and collapse, and cannot be repaired. I want you to die. The demon leader didn't stop here, and directly volatilized more powerful energy, quickly condensing into an incomprehensible sphere, and with the gathering of those energies, the spheres all turned into a dark color, and Buddha was covered with a layer of black paint. Corner. Facing this powerful energy, you will not be able to withstand it. The demon leader quickly blasted the sphere in his hand, without any hesitation at all. As if he felt the extremely powerful energy contained in it, Li Zi did not dare to underestimate it at this moment. Although he is very confident in his own strength, there will always be times when people overturn. The more critical it is, the better to be more careful, otherwise it is easy to fall into these predicaments, and there will never be a slight chance to really turn around.